Hello, 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 everyone. This is Dr. David checking in with you. How y'all doing? I see we got Manfred checking in from Germany. Anybody else? Oh, my webinar alarm is going off. That means it's time to start. How about that? All right, this is Dr. David. Welcome to Face Reading for Fun and Profit, Face Reading Secrets Revealed. Tonight's webinar is about one of the most fascinating topics I've ever come across. And it starts with this idea of, when I was young, I was the quintessential bullied kid. You've met these, these kids, the kids that they have no social skills, little to no social awareness. They're very awkward, and so they're often the brunt of jokes, or they do just about anything to be accepted and to be popular. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because one of the things that happened to me growing up was I didn't know who I could trust. I didn't know who I could believe. I didn't know who was trying to make fun of me, trying to use me, trying to take advantage of me in some way. And so I became extraordinarily obsessed with body language. I became extraordinarily obsessed with learning how to read people. And that took me in a lot of very, very interesting directions. Because of being bullied, I went into the martial arts. Because of the constantly being lied to and played tricks on and stuff like that, I got very, very self-aware, I guess is a good say. You think of it like a sort of hyperacuity syndrome, right? It's I forget what the exact term is. And if I seem a little whiffy, it's because I've just spent the last hour in the car with California traffic trying to get my daughter before the webinar started. So I'm a little whiffy. See, everybody's checking in. So anyway, bottom line is my studies eventually took me to an art and science called Chinese face reading, which was based on this concept of Oriental medical diagnosis. Now, when I was first learning face reading, I thought it was all about just diagnosing your liver, your heart, your kidney, your spleen, whatever. But as I got deeper and deeper into it, I realized that there was a whole system of psychology behind this, that these old Chinese face reading masters could look at your face and they could tell things about you that even your best friends didn't know. And I became really passionate about it because of my background being picked on and wanting to understand people and things of that nature. And it became one of the most powerful tools I had for helping my clients and myself to really move forward in life. So I want to share a lot of these things with you tonight. So before we get into the nitty gritty, first of all, if you're brand new to Planet David, please type in the chat your name, where you're checking in from, and really what you want to take away from tonight's training, right? What do you really want to know about, right? If you're a veteran of Planet David, type in veteran, how long you've been in Planet David, and what's it done for you? Let people know that we've got a mixture of new people. We've got a mixture of veterans in here. Few things. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, this is probably not the best use of your next 2 to 3 hours. Okay. We're going to go through what we call a free form webinar. It comes in 3 phases. The first phase is foundations. We're going to give you the exact techniques and principles that you need to be able to go out and apply the techniques and the methodologies that we're going to be sharing with you. In phase 2, we're going to show you how to take it further, how to actually level up your skills, how to, instead of testing the waters, how to dive in with both feet and really get this training for yourself. In phase 3, we're going to circle back on what we started in phase 1. And all we're going to do is we're going to customize tonight's content. We're going to give you the exact applications, the exact face reading information to help you apply this out in the real world for your benefit. So if this is the scope of everything that there is to learn in tonight's webinar, we've got time for this. So my commitment to you today is I will take you as far down this rabbit hole as I can. I will teach you as much as I can within the 3 phases, and I will point you in the direction of where to go to take the next step if that's something that appeals to you. Does that sound fair? If you think that's a fair trade, go ahead and type "that's fair, let's do it" in the chat. Okay. If you hear the dings, it's because I got all these alarms on my messenger and everything else. So just work with me here. Okay. All right. So we got Rod from Sussex. We got Kenny from Michigan. We've got Jacqueline, been on Planet David for 2 years. Nice. Alexia, that's fair. Mark from California, camera's off. That's all right. And Arthur, I said we got some good people here. Good. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay. First and foremost, a couple of things you will need for tonight. You're going to want something to take notes on and with, right? You're going to want to be as participatory in tonight's webinar as humanly possible. Okay. I'm not a big PowerPoint fan, but face reading is kind of a visual medium. So I have to kind of jump in and out of PowerPoints is a little bit more than I would like. But before we do that, let's make sure that you guys are in the right place. Okay. And here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to ask you guys some questions. And if these questions apply to you, I just want you to type, yes, that's for me in the chat. Can we do that? Go ahead and let me test that now. Go ahead and type that in the chat. Oh, by the way, special shout out to my followers on YouTube over there. You guys have been hanging out in the chat for almost 90 minutes, or over almost 2 hours waiting for this thing to start. So if you would like to learn how to become more fascinating, attractive to the opposite sex, and make them find you charming and irresistible, type that's for me in the chat. Face reading can absolutely do that for you. If you'd like to be able to banish fear and insecurity from your life, radiate confidence, assertiveness, power, and just be the top person in a group, right? If that's something you'd like, type that in the chat. If you'd like to be able to make more money from your job, or book more clients for your business, or get that raise or promotion you know you deserve, go ahead and type, yes, that's for me in the chat. If, and this is a big one, especially for tonight's webinar, if you'd like to protect yourself from manipulation and manipulators, if you'd like to learn how to more easily handle difficult people, right? To figure out who was most likely to be the difficult person before they've even opened their mouth, type that's for me in the chat. If you'd like to have people thinking and feeling and acting the way you want them to, so that they naturally want to follow your lead, type that's for me in the chat. Okay. If you'd like to be able to attract and surround yourself with lots of new, trustworthy, loyal friends, type that's for me in the chat. If you'd like to have people liking and admiring and trusting you, even loving you in the shortest amount of time possible. If you'd like to find the love that's right for you, ooh, here's a good one. Type that's for me in the chat. Okay. If you answered yes to any 2 or more of these questions, you are in the right place. If you answered no to any of them, when would now be a time to go to Starbucks and get a coffee or something? Because that's really not what we're about tonight. Okay. We're going to give you the master keys to doing this. And I want to make sure that everybody's in the right place. So that being said, cool. All right. So let's just go start with what I lovingly call the Dr. David Dog and Pony Show, right? And we'll go ahead, and I just want to close this. There's a bunch of things up here that I don't need to see. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and let's start with our PowerPoint, and we'll jump into it. Okay. Hold on. All right. So first question that always comes up, especially for new people, is who is Dr. David Snyder and why should I care? First and foremost, I am an actual doctor. I have a doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese medicine from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine. I'm also currently working on a second doctorate in medical Qigong through the Bianhua Gong Temple, which is a medical degree as a religious and Taoist organization as well. I'm also working on several other religious degrees, or mystical degrees, I should say, in both Christian mysticism, Taoist mysticism, and Buddhist mysticism. So I'm very much a student of mysteries, but I'm also a student and a big believer in using the sciences to explain a lot of metaphysical or mystical concepts, because to me, they're all the same. They're just using different words and metaphors to do that. But I do have a practice. I've been seeing clients for over 17 years, where my specialty my clinic was in Solana Beach, California, where my specialty was treating physiological illness that was caused by repressed emotion. Okay. And when we talk about repressed emotion, this is one of the reasons why face reading was such a huge, huge benefit in my practice, because 99%, in my opinion, and in my experience, over 90% of the people who are suffering from terminal and chronic illness, those illnesses are caused by repressed emotion. And that was the focus of our clinical practice for many, many years. And face reading gave me the ability to corroborate what the emotions I was releasing were versus what was markings on the face. And one of the interesting things from a medical perspective is that when you are starting to release the emotions locked in a person's face. Now, you don't have to believe this. That's another thing about tonight's webinar. You don't have to believe a damn thing I'm about to tell you. All you got to do is do it and see what happens. Okay. But when you actually unpack a facial marking, that and the emotion is completely cleared, that marking actually fades and goes away. I've seen people's faces change dramatically in the course of a 90-minute session. And if you start applying this stuff well, and if you have techniques like the transformational triad, regression techniques, spinning, magic frame, those kinds of things, you can start to unpack the markings of the face that are connected to repressed emotions, and you'll see those markings change. You don't got to believe me. You just got to have the tools to do it, and you'll be able to experience it for yourself. That being said, let me go back to my PowerPoint here really quick. So yes, I also am the #1 NLP trainer in the world. In fact, one of the things I'm very proud of is for the past 4 years, 2020, 21, 22, and 23, our program, Killer Influence, has been named the #1 NLP product or an NLP training program in the world by folks like you, as well as my peers. I've authored over 15 different products on various forms of human influence, everything from conversational hypnosis practices for health and healing, to advanced sales and marketing techniques, to law of attraction and persuasion, you name it, storytelling and metaphor, conversational belief change. We do it all at Planet David. Our job is, if you've got problems, we got solutions, and we're going to show you how to do that. So this is my little blurb from the globalgurus.org website back when I was named the #1 NLP trainer in the world. This is our copy of the letter we got from Global Gurus, and this is our most recent program. The reason I'm bringing this up is because much of the things that we're going to be sharing with you tonight are actually also taught in this particular course. So I wanted you to know that this stuff has been tested over and over again. And if you're ready to play and have some fun with this, you can literally start to do what we call in Planet David, see the matrix. And one of those places that you can see the matrix is on the faces of the people around you. Okay. This is where a lot of my training in the Chinese system started. I'm a lifelong martial artist. I have a 10th degree black belt in Ryukyu Kempo Karate, which is an art that specifically specializes in working with and using the acupuncture points and meridians and energetics for self-defense. I've been doing that for most of my life, and it opened a massive door for me, and I'm hoping it'll help you guys open those doors as well. I have a 4th degree black belt in Shaolin Kun Tao, a 2nd degree black belt in Kosho Kempo Ryu, 1st degree black belt in Fankuru Jiu-Jitsu. I'm also a certified instructor in combat systema, and I'll just cut to the chase. As you can see down here, I have more energy healing credentials than McDonald's sells hamburgers. I've been doing Kabbalah since before Madonna ever heard of Kabbalah, so I'm very much a prima donna. And I've been doing Reiki since before Reiki was cool. So you see this laundry list of all these things. People often ask, well, what the hell all these things have in common? Why do I care? Well, first and foremost, the one thing that all of these disciplines that I've just talked about, from the Chinese medical side to the martial arts to the NLP and hypnosis to all of the energy healing systems, one thing that where they all come together is in this concept we call pattern recognition. Everything human beings do has a structure, a process, and a pattern to it. And if you have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, you will be able to read those patterns and make predictions and interventions in a very powerful, very direct way, and know what the outcome is going to be. If you're here, let me jump out of this really quick. If you're here because you're tired of you want a little bit more, you want less randomness in your life, you're in the right place. Everything we do here at Planet David is about raising your awareness so you have more choice, and that choice equals control and freedom. Right? Whether you're coming here to learn how to meet and attract your ideal mate, whether you're coming here to learn how to make more money, whether you're coming over here to overcome health problems or getting, to grow spiritually. We have processes for this. And face reading tonight is one of those crossroads where all of these things blend and merge together. Okay. So if you stay for tonight, here's what my plan is for you. Okay. And again, type this in the chat if you think that these are cool things for you. I'm going to read it off my PowerPoint rather than have you look at my PowerPoint, because I think I'm much better looking than my PowerPoint, but that's just me, right? If you'd like to learn how to look at anybody and understand their personality and temperament better than the people who've known them for 20 years, you're in the right place. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you'd like to learn how to track and see a person's trauma and emotional repression history on their face, I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to teach you what to look for to a greater or lesser degree to gauge sexual and romantic compatibility. It's really cool. And finally, I'm going to show you how to become a master of reading people and influencing them to do what you want the way that you want it. Okay. So my biggest question for you, and again, this is where we start to get more interactive, because this is where I begin to really customize these things for you. I want to know, when you saw tonight's webinar, there was something that you really wanted. There was something that you said, if I just got this one thing as a byproduct of tonight's training, it would be this and it would be awesome. I want you to think about it. If there was, think of this to yourself. If there was one thing that I got as a byproduct from tonight's training, what would it be? I want you to write it in the chat. Just type it in the chat right now. Okay. Those of you who are, Julie says, sure would. I think I do that, some of that now. Okay. Man, I love that you guys are chatting in the tech and in back and forth. But remember, we're in a class. So confidence. So Sarah says confident. Honestly, a lifelong learner. I'm after a deep understanding of all that is. Okay. Take the wrinkles out of my face. Ooh, well, I just gave you the master key to that. Clear traumas. Okay. Laura says. Excellent. Now, this is the first part of your drill. I want you to write, I'll get out a piece of paper. So Alexia wants to help more people. Doug is into self-healing. Sarah wants to recognize hustlers. Sarah, you're in the right place tonight, by the way. And you'll see why as we get to part 2 of the webinar. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. First things first, I want you to get out a piece of notebook paper, just like so, right? And all I want you to do is at the top of the webinar, just write out the question, what do I want to get as a byproduct from tonight's webinar, right? Write the answer you typed in the chat at the top of the screen. Okay. So health and law of attraction assumptions, find good people. Okay. So I want you to go ahead and write that on the screen. We're gonna do some drills with this. This is actually I'm gonna teach you one of the most important skills that I teach all of my students. And I consider you my student now, whether you're been with us for 2 years or this is your first time. We're going to start by going through a process together called the emotional motivation checklist. You see, everything human beings do is in response to a feeling. It's either a feeling they want more of or a feeling they want a whole lot less of. However, some thoughts and some feelings society has taught us we're not allowed to have. And so we repress them, and that's where these markings come from. Okay. But what I want you to learn how to do is I want you to learn how to tap into your needs, your values, the things that actually cause your neurology to stand up and take notice. Okay. To stand up and take notice. So to do that, we're going to go through a couple of drills together that if you practice this drill on yourself and then you practice it with other people, you will have people eating out of the palm of your hand. You will have them salivating to do business with you, salivating to go out with you, salivating to spend more and more time with you. Okay. And we're going to do this before we get into too deep into the face reading piece, because one of the things we need to do is we need to be able to bridge. We need to be able to read people externally, but we also need to tap into their hearts. So at the top of your sheet, what I want you to do is I want you to actually write down what you want to learn from tonight. So Pierre Marichal says, I'm already using Occidental face reading and want to improve my practice. Great, you're in the right place. You're in the right place, Pierre. Royce says, I want to read people's faces, understand them better. Write down under that question, what's important about the thing you said? So like Sarah was saying, recognizing hustlers or confidence. What's important about that to you? Brandon says, immediate appropriate application and execution. Okay, perfect. Write those down. We'll come back to them later. Okay, because my job is to show you how to get those things. I want you to just connect that to what I'm going to be sharing with you. First and foremost, one of the first things we need to understand is that people make decisions based not on logic, but on feelings. So let me ask you a question. What if we could look at somebody's face and in 30 seconds or less, know exactly what kind of a decision maker they are? If we had that seemingly X-ray ability, we could just look at somebody's face and know, okay, do I need to be emotional with this person? Like emotional and gut and instinctive with this person? Do I need to be pragmatic with this person? Do I need to give them facts and figures? What do I need to give these people so that they'll willingly choose to do the things I want them to do? What if we had that ability? What would that do for you? Type that in the chat for me. What could you do with that? The Equalizer movie, okay. Changed my whole life, Julie says. Yes, right? Confidence, be able to trust myself and be able to achieve my dreams. Instant rapport, Doug says more confidence. Absolutely. You know, one of the things back when I was teaching, one of the very first courses I ever created was a course called Secret Orgasm Tips. And it was a course on sexuality. It was a course that would teach any person how to be their partner's ideal lover the first night they were together. Even before many times they got the clothes off. Now, why am I talking about that? It's because many of the principles that go into being a great lover are also go into being a great communicator. The first one is paying attention. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. But there was a comment in the chat that I want to, that kind of triggered this thought. One of the things that, if you're learning about dating and attraction, that you always run into is this thing called approach anxiety, right? Anybody here, by a show of hands, ever experienced social anxiety or approach anxiety? You see someone that you really want to get to know, and like before you even take a step, you're running these crappy movies in your head. You got these knots in your stomach, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? These cold sweats breaking out everywhere. Okay. So here's the thing. I'm going to teach you some things tonight that aren't on the standard curriculum. Things to look for that will help you know if the person that you're talking, it's facial stuff, things that you should look for to let them know that person actually wants or is open to you coming and talk to them. But one of the things I would teach my students back then was, if you could look at a person and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that person actually was interested and willing to talk to you, how nervous would you really be about going up and striking a conversation with that person? And that's the question I'm asking you. If you could look at somebody and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they were actually open and willing to talk to you, how much nervousness would you have? You're going to have some because it's a new person, but that's not really nervousness, it's excitement, right? Would that make it easier for you? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do tonight then is we're going to deviate a little bit. When we talk about Chinese face reading, we're talking about something I call passive profiling. Well, if there's a passive profile, then there must be active profiling, right? So what do I mean when I say active profiling versus passive profiling? Okay. First and foremost, how many of you, by show of me in the chat, have heard of something called microexpressions? If you've heard of microexpressions, type that in the chat. Okay, excellent. How many of you ever heard of my good friend, Chase Hughes, author of the Behavioral Table of the Elements? If you haven't heard of Chase, that's all right. You'll hear about him in my world long enough, right? And then finally, Dr. Paul Ekman. Yes? If you haven't got his book, Telling Lies or Emotions Revealed, get them. They will change your life. Okay. So Dr. Ekman was the person who discovered microexpressions. Now, microexpressions are these tiny little muscular movements of the face that flash across. It's almost like a subliminal message. Like it's there and it's gone in a fraction of a second. And what he discovered was these markings manifest when someone is actively trying to mask or hide an emotion. Okay, now those are the key words: mask or hide an emotion. In other words, probably one of the most common ones is you'll see people in the lie detection world or in world of sociopathy and narcissism. You'll hear about this thing called duping delight, where a person is being interrogated by the police, and they think the police, in their mind, they think the police are stupid, but they're playing this role. So every time they tell a lie, you'll see this little tiny, I had to make it bigger for the camera, but these little tiny movements, right? So microexpressions are what we call active profiling. In other words, when I'm talking to you and we're interacting, I'm watching your pupil dilation, I'm watching your eyebrow fluttering, I'm watching the areas around your mouth and the areas of your eyes to see when they change. And depending on how they change, I'm getting a flash, an instant update on what emotions you're processing. That's what we call active profile, okay? Face reading, Chinese face reading, for the most part, is what we call passive profiling. Now, passive profiling means if I spent 50 years practicing a microexpression of disappointment. Can you see my lips go, this movement? Eventually, that's going to mark. It's going to leave a wrinkle there. Okay, so passive profiling or face reading is the consequence of a lifetime of microexpressions. Now, the ancient Chinese over 2,500 years ago realized that the emotions we process leave marks in different places on the face. And after many, many years of just looking at one person after another, they started to realize that these markings formed a pattern that was predictable and reliable and would relate to different organ systems, relate to different emotions, everything. So as an introduction into where we're going, I wanted to make the distinction between passive profiling and active profiling. Are we clear on the distinction? They're very complementary, but they're not the same thing. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's go back to this whole idea of being cool with walking up to people, okay? My good friend Chase Hughes developed a program called the 6-Minute X-Ray. Chase is one of the world's leading authorities on mind control and body language and things like that. And one of the things that we both discovered in our own research was what I call the positive eye contact cluster. So if you look at somebody, okay, and you make eye contact with them and they smile, and you see these little wrinkles come up at the sides of the face and their eyebrows do this. Can you see that? Right? We call that the unconscious hello. Now, in order for you to be certain, those three things have to be seen together. Right? And you can actually this is actually a great thing you can start doing right away. As you walk down the street or when you're walking down the mall or whatever, make eye contact with someone, smile and do this. And more often than not, you'll see them return it. This particular movement with the eyebrows is known as a key stimulus. These key stimuli are hereditarily programmed responses. They're like reflexes that people automatically engage in when they're approaching a stranger. Okay. Another example, a little bit gross, actually, is from the bird world. There's this one particular species of bird that has this bright, it's a dark bird, but it has this white spot right in its chest. And the mom would go out looking for food and would come back to the nest, and somehow, some way, the baby bird in the nest knew that if it grabbed a little twig or something like that and poked that little white spot, the mom would regurgitate the food so it could eat. No one taught it how to do that. It's a genetic response. This eyebrow flash that I'm teaching you is something that all mammals do. Okay. So a lot of people say make eye contact and smile. That's one thing. The problem is that you have to be able to tell if it's a genuine happy to see you smile or a social smile. And the way you distinguish that is, imagine you have a little covering and it's covering the smile. Are they dead from the nose up? Right? If they're smiling, right, but the eyes aren't, that's not a genuine, that's a polite smile, but it's not a social smile. So if you see that and you don't get the eyebrow flash, that's a sign that you have to approach more cautiously, approach more gently, spend more time creating comfort and building rapport. But if you get the eyebrow flash and then the wrinkles here at the zygomatic arch, that's a sign that says, hey, go ahead and talk to me. I'm open. What if they had Botox? It's a Rosetta. God, I haven't seen you in forever. If they had Botox, they'll be less emotional here, but their eyebrows will still flash. Right? So, but I get the Botox question a lot. So you have to look at other behaviors. Okay, but is this helpful? Is this useful? Type it in the chat. Okay, so now here's the next question. Going back to decisions, if we could look at somebody and figure out, okay, how does this person make decisions? What does this person? How do I need to present my case to this person? Whether it's presenting them on a product or putting your best foot forward. How can I know what to say to them? And that's what's going to bring us to our first chart. Let me go ahead and throw this up here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to divide the face into 3 zones. 3 zones. You have the upper zone, the middle zone, and the bottom zone. Now, when we look at the top of the zone, we want to measure this from the eyebrow line. I want to get my, here we go. My draw line. There we go. Go away. And close. How do I close that? Okay. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Okay. So this area here from the eyebrow line to the top of the head is known as the mental zone. Okay, let me make this bigger because I can't really write in. People with a large upper zone are going to be very data driven. I will give you a real life example with someone with a very big upper zone. See that? That's a big upper zone. See how big, right? I am extremely data driven, right? This is me, right? Now, again, I'm pretty balanced in my other zones, but really, I think this has actually gotten bigger the longer I've been in this world. Right. My friend Brandon and my partner Brandon, who's actually on this call, he has a classic Marquise diamond shaped face. Every time I ask Brandon a question, he answers me with a spreadsheet. He has a massive, massive dome up here. Right. So when you see someone with a large upper zone compared to the other 2 zones, which we'll talk about, you can automatically realize that this person is very knowledge driven. They're very data driven. Now, it doesn't mean if they have a small zone here and a bigger zone here that they're not as data driven, but this is their priority, if that makes any kind of sense. So if you go up to this person and you say, I've got this amazing new invention, you're going to love it. First thing out of their mouth is they prove it. Where's your data? Show me the stats, show me the brochure, show me the pamphlet. Right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to want to see your data. Show me the proof. Right now, little fun. I'll talk about. Remind me to tell about the exercise I want you to do after the webinar. But what about the other zones? If you see someone who's got a bigger middle zone, this is someone who's very pragmatic. They want to know exactly what it's going to do for them. So in other words, what's it going to let me do? What's it going to do for me? Right? Very pragmatic. So if their middle zone is bigger than their upper zone, and you lead with data, the first thing they're going to say, so what? How's that going to help me? Okay. You guys with me so far on this? I'm going to see if I can open the chat so I can see the chats a little bit. Okay, good. Excellent. So that brings us to the third zone, which is obviously the emotional zone. Now, this particular zone, this one causes a little bit of confusion with people sometimes. You ever talk to somebody about something and they get this look on their face that says, well, you know, I really don't love it? That's these people, right? People with a large lower zone are very, very driven by emotion. They're often very, what we call gut driven. Where's my, I think my mouse just died. My mouse just died. Hey, Moss, bring me another mouse. So I'm gonna have to go over to this particular. So in this zone here, hold on again. It's ever since I started doing this crazy qigong, I've been plagued with all kinds of weird electrical stuff.
Once you don't.
It's not working either. Okay.
We'll get you another one.
Okay, you're gonna have to bear with me, folks, because we had a minor technical snafu here. This is where I could use a touchscreen. All right, we'll try this one more time.
Make sure I sync it up with it.
I don't even.
Got a plug over here.
Yeah, that might be a power cord. I don't want to screw up. I just plug this one in here. Just do this.
To the mouse real quick.
Oh, this is just weird. Okay.
So we're ready to the laptop up that has the.
I don't know. I've never had this happen before. Everything just locked up. Bear with us, folks.
It's the computer.
Might be the computer. All right, so guys, I'm gonna try anyway to make Moss a co-host. Well, he is a co-host. All right, so here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna reboot my computer and come back in. Give me like 5 minutes. I really apologize for this, but I can't move any further with the PowerPoint until we reboot. Okay, so just give me 5 minutes to reboot and get set up, and we'll be back on track. If for some reason the chat closes, okay, well, I don't know how to affect the guys on YouTube. That's my biggest concern.
Okay.
All right, so just bear with me, folks. Why can I not? Why can I not see? Oh, there I am. Hey guys, I'm actually coming in from a laptop right now. We're still trying to reboot. I just didn't want you guys to feel like I'd abandon you. I'm actually working from the laptop, so we're trying to get this set up for you guys. All right, so let me see. I got to find actually now. I got to find my face reading stuff. Fortunately, it's right here. So let's go ahead and share the screen. We'll talk about this. There we go. So let me share my screen and we'll get.
Here's the mouse.
Okay, thank you. Sure. And you keep working on that and see if you can get something going on. All right. So let's go back to sharing screen. Gotta make this smaller. I'm so used to a 65-inch touchscreen that working with these tiny screens is a little bit challenging for me. Hold on a second. Okay, so why are you not showing? Okay, here we go. All right, so when we look at the zones of the face, okay, it's easy to look at this and say, okay, this person has a high forehead, and so I'm going to give him data. This person has a big middle zone, so I'm going to tell him I'm going to talk about how pragmatic they are. This person has a very gut-driven face, so I'm going to talk about how they're going to love it. But here's an easier, what I think is a better way to do this, and it's based on my background in NLP. So I'm going to, if you guys need to take a screenshot of this, go right ahead and type in the chat when you've got your screenshot. Can you guys see okay now? Some of you were asking me to zoom in. Okay, good. All right, so upper zone, once again, data-driven. Middle zone, pragmatic, practical, right? Bottom zone is the emotional, instinctive. I want you to think of this as a code. Where, you know, and again, if you go over to, if I just move to the side a little bit here, 1, 2, 3. What does that mean? If I see someone who's a 1, 2, 3, that means their upper zone is their biggest zone, their middle zone is their second biggest zone, and their lower zone is their third biggest zone. That tells me that if I want to present to that person, okay, yes, my desktop is very small compared to where I was, right? That means if I want to present to this person, I talked about the data. I tell them all the research that's gone into it. Then I talk about what the specific things it's going to do for them. And then I talk about how much they're going to love it. And to really stimulate that emotional desire, I'm going to tell stories. I'm going to literally put them in the future, having experienced the amazing benefits of that product or service and how good they feel about it. So it's easy. The same kind of thing happened in the NLP days when people looked at visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, the basic modalities, right? What happened is people would get confused because the minute they found out that they were primarily a visual person, they would just say, I'm a visual person. Well, you're not a visual person. You have a visual preference, but you use all of the other modalities. This is also true with these different zones of your face. You do have an instinctive emotional process. You have a pragmatic side and you have a data-driven side. The question becomes, what's your sequence? What's your preferred sequence? So in the first one, it's a 1, 2, 3. I lead with data. I talk about what it's going to do for them. And I tell them, and I paint pictures for how much they're going to love it. But what if they're a 3, 2, 1? In other words, this is their biggest zone. This is their second biggest zone. And this is their third biggest zone. Well, I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to do things like, imagine what would your life be like if you could do X and Y and Z and you had the amazing ability to just be a certain way and have a certain thing, right? over the past 20 years, we've done extensive research on specific mechanical products and techniques that will do exactly that. And here's the data that supports our findings. And with this amazing power, this amazing product, you're going to be able to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you see here how I just changed the order of the zones I'm presenting to. Does that make sense? If you're with me so far, go ahead and type that in the chat. How about my YouTubers? YouTubers are a little bit, okay, good. So the idea is when we start looking at zones of the face, it's not, yes, they're data driven. Yes, I get that. But what's their whole sequence? Because just like in NLP, people are towards and away from, or away from and towards. Human beings are data, pragmatist, and emotional. But what is their preferred sequence? What is the order that they prefer to be presented to? If you can match their sequence, they will understand you and relate to you faster and deeper. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Is this useful? Okay, very good. Now, one of the things I'm going to do, normally what I would do is I would talk about public side versus private side, but our tech snafus kind of put us a little bit behind schedule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to really today and going forward, what I want you guys to do when you go out into the world, the first thing I want you to look for is that positive eye contact cluster. Okay, you guys remember the positive eye contact cluster? It's going to be a smile, legitimate eye contact, and then the eyebrow flash. Okay, this is your primary approach me cluster. Okay, we would call this active profile. What we just did with the decision-making process would be considered passive profile, because those, unless you're actually physically working on the issues around something, that physiognomy is not going to change all that much. Next, we're going to talk about emotional health. How many people here, just by a show of hands in the chat, let me just jump out of the PowerPoint really quick. So how many people here by a show of hands are in some kind of helping profession, either sales, healthcare, counseling, coaching? Okay, then this, to me, this particular map, of all the maps I'd ever encountered in my studies in Chinese medicine, this one was the most immediately useful. I zoned right in on that decision-making process, which I thought was super critical, because it gives you a leg up in any negotiation, mediation, what have you, right? It can also explain a lot of times why certain couples disagree on things. If you look at their physiognomy, the proportions of their head, some person might be very gut-driven, and the other person is very data-driven, and they have to argue. Webinar person NC says, I'm a tutor. Yes. SK is talking about, will you talk about erasing the emotional wrinkles at some point? I can talk about that. It's actually something that happens as a byproduct of doing a face reading. When I discovered that particular phenomenon, I was the first one in a room with like 300 people to yell bullshit. I was literally in the back of the room. Lillian, my teacher, was talking about how when you unpack an emotional marking on the face, that mark will literally, the wrinkle will literally disappear. And before I could contain it, the first words out of my mouth, you know the proverbial bullshit, right? That was me, and she heard me. And so from across the room, she started reading my face, right? So, and I just felt my whole body starting to react. There's some kind of weird vibrational, subconscious, other than conscious transformation process that's initiated when you start actively doing the face reading as is classically taught. So if you're already a hypnotist or a coach and you understand what abreactions are, this will absolutely start to magnify the level of emotional abreactiveness you generate in people. They'll just start processing right in front of you, right? It's really cool, but it can be kind of disconcerting if you're not ready for it. Thank you. I'm still multitasking here, so. So let me put a pin in the unpacking the emotional thing. But if you're some kind of healer right now, like a hypnotist, a neurolinguistic programmer, an energy healer, and you start incorporating face reading into what you do, you're going to see an exponential shift in people. Okay, so we got some good questions here, but they're taking us in a little bit of a different direction. So, but we're going to go into emotions right now. And once we do that, I'm going to go ahead and circle back and talk about things you can do to start unpacking emotions. Does that sound like a fair trade? Okay. I'm trying to read the messages here. Okay, good. All right, so let's look at the emotional map of the face. And this was again, of all the maps that I encountered, and there's lots in the Chinese system, this was to me the absolute most important one that I came across. Where's my map? Come on. Why are you not showing up here? All right, maybe I have to make it. Maybe I have to make it full screen. This laptop is really kind of getting weird too. So it's got to be my energy, guys. I apologize. This is just. Okay, let me just go ahead and start this, and then I'll switch laptops. Okay, so can you guys see the facial map? Type it in the chat. Okay, good. So we're going to start with the upper right-hand corner, the 1 o'clock position, right here. We call this a skepticism line. So people with this line usually starts about midpoint of the eyebrow, just above it, and it moves laterally towards the outer border of the eyebrow. When you see this particular marking on someone, this is someone who is not going to take anything at face value. Now, before I get any further into the emotions of the face, hold on a second. Yeah, I get the side is cut off. I'm not really sure why things are happening the way they're happening here. Hold on a second. There we go. A little better? Okay, so don't worry too much about. I'll give you a chance to take a screenshot of this. I just ask that if you do take a screenshot, that you don't openly share this too much, simply because this chart is from my teacher Lillian, who has since passed on, but she did ask that we don't actively. I don't like to share her copyrighted material. So if you do take a screenshot, please don't post it anywhere. Okay. Does the skeptic, that's a great question. No, one of the things I want you guys to understand going into this process is that all of these lines, with the exceptions of the ones in the center, are bilateral. They can happen on the right side, they can happen on the left side. Okay? Now, one of the things I want to talk about a little bit is how do you talk to people about these markings if you're going to do a face reading? One of the things you want to avoid like the plague is if you see a marking like this, the skepticism line, for example, the last thing you want to say is, oh, you're just a skeptical motherfucker, right? I promise you that is not going to get you the response that you're hoping for, right? If you see a line, like a skepticism line, one of the best things to do, one of the things that Lillian, my teacher, used to talk about all the time was that there was an inherent bias in the Chinese systems towards negativity. They were always telling you what was wrong with you. And Lillian made a very, very concerted effort to balance that, to tell people that there were good things about their traits as well as the not so great things about their traits, if that makes sense. So she was one of the most compassionate Kuan Yin type people I'd ever met. And so one of the things I want to caution you about is if you lead with the negative, you're going to get reactants. You're going to get people who are just going to put, even if you're right, and you're usually going to be right, by the way. So what you want to do is you want to have a lot of rapport. You want to soften everything that you do. So using the skepticism line as an example, rather than saying, oh, you just don't believe anything people tell you, right? You say, you know, you have beautiful eyebrow line, but what I notice you have this line, this small wrinkle right above your eyebrow, and that starts about halfway through. And what my teacher taught me was that many people who have this marking are often have an extra healthy dose of skepticism. Like they don't take everything at face value. And they want to see proof. They're not necessarily against something, but they're not going to just accept what people say because somebody else said it, if that makes any kind of sense. So could that be true for you? Right? And you let them answer, right? You'll find that some of the most powerful ways to do face reading is not by telling them necessarily what's wrong with them, but by telling them, you're going to need that. Okay. All right. So as you can see, we're still working on the technical side of things here. This is going to be a fun adventure for us. Okay. Teresa says, I'm loving this. Okay, good. All right. So it just shows you, it doesn't matter. Anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, for any reason, we're going to roll with it, right? So you're going to find it's always easier to approach face reading from a question perspective and let them acknowledge it than it's going to be to say, you're just this way. Now, that being said, if you get somebody who's being a dickhead, I shouldn't even say this, but I have to. If you get someone who is just being in your face or just calling you on the carpet, you can absolutely use this to emotionally decimate them. Because the minute you start rattling off all the shit you see, it opens up their armor like it's nobody's business. One of the things, if you ever study with my friend Chase or some of the more advanced psyops people, one of the things that you'll learn about is that everybody out there, including us, are wearing masks. We're wearing emotional masks and identities. And face reading allows you to rapidly penetrate those masks and reveal and just tap right into a person's true heart and soul. Okay? So you got to be very careful with using truth as a weapon, as Lillian likes to say. But that being said, you can help a lot of people with this. But it's powerful, and just like anything that's truly powerful, it can be used to help, it can be used to hurt, it can be used to attack, it can be used to defend. So I want you to be very aware of that. So the skepticism line is one that I see a lot in lawyers, I see a lot in auditors, scientists a lot. Okay. Next on our list. Okay. Next on our list is going to be joy lines. Now, remember I talked about earlier. I talked about if someone smiles at you and you see these little wrinkles here, someone who spends a lot of time smiling is going to have these little crow's feet at the end or the back at the outer canthi. Okay, the outer canthi is this little corner piece right here. So these are joy lines. Now you got to be careful. If you see lines, I'm going to go to the other side of the face now. If you see lines that go beyond the eyebrow, these are called mania lines or hyperactivity lines. This is what the Chinese would consider to be pathological or excessive joy. So people who are manic depressive, some borderlines can exhibit this. Anybody suffering from any form of mania will start to show these lines, right? The one that comes to mind is the orange-haired dude who was up at 2 o'clock in the morning tweeting, right? Classic mania lines, right? Now, these people can be very productive and very creative, but they also can be very crazy. So if you see these lines, it doesn't mean they're stark raving loon. It means they have moments where they're monomaniacal or megalomaniacal, and it comes and goes. Okay, so on the right side, this is what we would consider to be healthy joy or contentment. This is pathological joy or excitement or mania, right? Now remember, this trait can be on this side. This trait can be on this side. You can have it on both sides, okay? Every one of the traits, with the exception of the ones coming down the middle, can be bilateral. All right, you guys with me so far? Cool. All right, let's move on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take normally I would just have you guys break up into groups and practice on each other, but I don't have time to do that. So I'm going to take you as far as I can, and we'll go from there. Okay, so next one on our list, and this again, for those of you who are in the helping professions, starts at the outer canthi, but this time it travels down. Now, what you'll notice here is you have what I consider to be 3 degrees of loss. So the short line is a sadness line. If the sadness is deep and it's been there longer and it hasn't been fully processed, it will start to travel down the cheekbone and across the cheek, and it becomes sorrow. This is a person who's on their way to repressing or short-circuiting the grieving process. If they've completely repressed their grief, they've never finished processing it, and they've been stacking more and more moments of loss in their life, you will see these lines start to go all the way down. And this is called grief. Now, let me jump out of the PowerPoint really quick. This is really important. Remember I said when in my clinical practice, I started my practice on medical referrals. Everything I got was a medical referral. Started with chronic intractable pain, and then it went into chronic and terminal illness. And one of the things that you'll start to see in people with like COPD, asthma, allergies, you'll see a lot of times they'll have markings down that area of the face. And the reason for that is because, let me find the map for you. The reason for that is because that is a primary lung area, okay? Grief and sadness and loss go to the lungs. Okay, you can actually cross-reference this with some of Louise Hayes's work in Healing Your Body, Healing Your Life. She actually gives you a chart on some of this. So you'll actually see, if you do this work clinically, and you're working with people and you start unpacking their lung problem, or you'll find grief coming up. Or if they're coming to you for grief, they'll have a specific breathing pattern. It's like, right? It's a very, very distinct cadence that they get. Every single marked area on your face is associated with a certain organ and meridian system, and each one of those organ and meridian systems is affiliated with a certain set of emotions. And this is how it all connects. Okay, I can diagnose your entire body from your face. Okay, and I can diagnose your psyche, and I can diagnose your emotional health from your face. But this is literally how an acupuncturist or someone who's trained in Oriental medicine sees your face. Okay, and if you guys want to learn more about that, you can come to our classical face reading training and learn how to do those things. So am I still sharing screen? Yes, okay. All right, I'll change it in a minute. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is also a loss. Make sure I'm sharing. I'm going to stop. I'm not convinced I'm sharing my screen yet, so I'm going to do this again. Okay, another lost line that we want to look at that I think is really important is called a lost love line. My teacher also called these personal grief lines, but I think lost love is probably a little bit more accurate. So this line starts right, you see that all the grief and sadness and sorrow lines start at the outer canthus and work down. But the lost love line starts at the inner canthus. It's closer to the core. And then it works down. Now I see this line manifest in two ways. You have the traditional line, which is just like a waterfall, right? Here, right? And it just starts here and it flows down. But on some people, what you'll actually see is it starts here, it'll move across, and then it'll start to move down. And the way I interpret this is this person lost something on two levels. The lost love line represents something that is deeply, deeply personal to you. So the example that I most often use, let's say that when you were little, your parents took you horseback riding and you absolutely fell in love with horses. And from that moment on, the moment you saw a horse, your heart just started to dance. You felt alive. You felt like this was one of your reasons for living. And so for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, however long it was, everything you did was about horses. You lived horses, you breathed horses, you bugged your parents until they actually bought you a horse, right? And then maybe in your late teens, early 20s, something changes in your life. What do I mean by that? Maybe you meet somebody who you fall in love with, and for some reason they're allergic to horses, they're terrified of horses, they hate horseback riding, or you marry this person and they take a job in the city where you can't do horseback riding. And so as an act of love or something, you actually give up the horses. But as you give up the horses, part of your spirit goes with it. In those moments, you may mark that way. So the idea behind when you see people with this marking, it doesn't mean that they've necessarily lost a person. It means they've lost something that is part of what we call their golden path, their reason for taking on a body, their reason for actually being here. And so in our golden path workshops, part of our job is to inventory and audit your entire life and find those things that made you light up like a Christmas tree and help you engineer a lifestyle that puts them back in. Does that make sense? So when you see this marking, they've lost a part of themselves that activity or that scenario or context fulfilled. Okay, does this make sense? Right? And what's really powerful is you start talking about, I bet a bunch of you right now, when I started talking about that, you started to tear up. True, not true? Anybody? Yep, Samira says she looked at herself in the mirror. Totally makes sense. True horses, right? Now I'm using horses as an example. It doesn't have to be horses. It could be skateboarding. It could be video. It could be Dungeons and Dragons. It could be martial arts, right? Right. So again, it's all connected, folks. It's all connected, right? But when we look at someone and we start to see these markings, we can also begin to understand their pain. And now because we understand their pain and we can, and if we're willing to talk about their pain, we can help them out of it. Okay. Okay, so let's go back and look at our map. So skepticism, sadness, joy, skepticism, joy, sadness, sorrow, grief, lost loves, and mania. Those are the big ones. So at the beginning of today's webinar, I said I would take you as far as I can down this rabbit hole and I'd point you in the direction of where to go to take the next step. Have I done my best to live up to that promise so far? If you think if I've lived that or I've done that, type yes in the chat. Okay, perfect. So what I'd like to do now, if it's okay, I'd like to circle back in phase 3 and finish the map and then drill down on specific applications that you want to learn, right? Are there specific applications that you guys want to know more about? Type those in the chat right now. Control for persuasion. Okay. Fear. Okay. Purpose. What's the marking around my eyes mean? Okay, well, we'll get there. Let go of grief, how to unpack the emotions, lose the wrinkles. Oh, work ethic. Okay. Okay. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to transition now from phase 1, which is foundations, to phase 2, which is showing you how to take your next steps, how to go from just dipping your toe in the water to going, pardon my French, balls to the wall on this, right? I'm going to switch computers again. I'm going to explain some of the programs we put together for you. Once I'm done there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle back. We're going to pick up with the facial map, and then we're going to drill down on these specific applications. Is that okay? Can we do that? Teresa said this webinar, well, it is personal. This is part of my spiritual path. This is actually part of my spiritual journey. In fact, one of the things that is part of my golden path that came to me was my teacher. This is her family tradition. And so part of what I'm doing is I'm moving that lineage forward by teaching as many people as I can. But one of the other things, and this is why I'm studying a lot of these other mystical traditions, one of the things Lillian talked about a lot was this concept of rejuvenating the body by creating something called Jing, which if you don't have any background in Chinese medicine, means absolutely nothing. But it's a substance that the body uses to live longer and be healthier. And that secret was lost, but it was kept alive in certain mystical and magical traditions. And so when I first started learning about this, I realized that part of my mission, in addition to carrying this lineage forward, was to bring those teachings back to the face reading tradition that you're learning tonight. So I organized all of the face reading into two different tracks: classical face reading and modern face reading. What you're learning now is my approach to modern face reading. These are the things that you absolutely need to know if you want to remove your fears, you want to understand the fears of others, if you want to persuade and influence people, if you want to heal people faster and understand their personality and temperament without a need to know Chinese medicine. The classical track is all based from the Chinese medical perspective. It's a little bit more, it's not quite as linear, but I do have those trainings if people want to learn those. So I don't know, for some reason, I just felt like I needed to say that. So what I'm going to do right now, if you'll give me like 60 seconds to change computers, I'm going to go back to the big screen. We're going to go through and talk about the programs we have available for you. And then we're going to circle back. We're going to finish the emotional map. We're going to drill down on specific applications. And then depending on how much time we have left, maybe we'll show you how to do some ship clearing stuff. Does that sound like a plan? Type in the chat if you're ready. Okay, give me 60 seconds to change computers, and we'll see you in a minute.
Oh, never mind. Okay, we're good.
You can shut it. Give me 1 minute. My logic capture is booting up. There we are. I'm back in living color. We did it. All right, let me go ahead and jump into what we've got prepared for you guys. It's a lot of fun. And I have to open my PowerPoint again. Darn it. Okay. This is what happens when you reboot a computer. Hold on a second. All right, here's what we got for you. Wait a minute. Never mind. I opened the wrong power. There it is. Okay. All right. All right, let's try that again. Here we go. Okay. By the way, I really appreciate your patience. This is not normally how our day goes, but I guess I'm doing a little too much energy work because it's just crazy what's happening right now. Okay, so face reading for fun and profit, how to read anyone instantly home study course. All right, this course is something I put together because not everybody can come to a live event, and I want to make sure that you can learn this very, very powerfully, but not just in terms of reading the face, but also in how you can apply it exactly to your life. So this course is all about helping you take your life to the next level. It's about understanding yourself at a level most people never get to tap into. It's about learning how to read people instantly, to predict their behaviors, to help them become healthier, more emotionally empowered, to feeling more confident, more powerful, and to see the world through a different set of eyes that allows you to win the game of life, to graduate, as my colleague Brent Baum likes to say, from trauma school Earth and become the next Neo in the Matrix, so to speak. It's all about becoming more charming, charismatic, and irresistible, which is a byproduct from this training. And one of the cool things you'll discover is if you go to a party and people find out you're a face reader, you won't get out of that party. They will line up to touch the hem of your garment, and you will have so much power and influence in the lives of the people around you that it sounds like I'm like exaggerating. I'm actually understating what these skills do for you in terms of your ability to influence and manage social environments. It's really, really powerful. If you ever see some of the early face reading videos that I posted, where I have like 200 people in a room, that breakout was supposed to be a 2-hour breakout. I didn't get out of there for almost 5 hours because everybody wanted their face read. Now, everything I'm going to talk to you about expires September 14th, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. That's tonight. Okay. So one of the things we're going to first talk about is the Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course. This is my face reading for fun and profit level 1. It's going to teach you very, very quickly how to assess personality and temperament. Those are the two things that I found were the most important things that people in Planet David needed to learn to be able to influence and help people. You need to be able to assess their temperament and their personality. You need to be able to look at their emotional history on their face to determine where the hot buttons are that need resolution. You'll be able to look at somebody and determine their thinking and decision-making styles, how to unlock the emotional traumas and emotional repression written on their face. You'll be able to gauge sexual and romantic compatibility, which we'll talk a little bit in part 3 of the webinar. You'll be able to use this to manage money and other resources. In other words, you can look at them and know, are they someone who can actually, who can make a lot of money? Are they someone who spends a lot of money? Right? You can actually, there's 2 basic features on the face that will give you a very, very good indication of how much access to energy they actually have. And money is a form of energy. So there's an analogy to those two features. You'll be able to connect with people on a very, very deep level. One of the ways is actually through that decision-making process that we talked about earlier, as well as the social approach cluster, right? You'll be able to understand yourself better. One of the things I do every morning when I get up, I can't not do it. I got to warn you, once you learn this, you're not going to be able to shut it off. So you might as well just start using it. So one of the first things I do, and I know a lot of my face reading students do, the first thing they do when they get up in the morning after they've done their shit shower and shave rituals or whatever it is, is they look at their face in the mirror and they look at it from a face reading perspective. And the deeper you get into face reading, the more you can tell. You can tell by the slight changes in coloration. You can look at wrinkles, you can look at markings, and you can start to say, oh, I need to work on my lost love lines today, or I need to work on my sadness lines, or I need to work on my bitterness lines, or things like that. And you'll know from a personal development perspective what to focus on, because your face will change from day to day. And you'll know when you've cleared it because those markings will change, right? Really, really powerful in terms of just being able to diagnose your entire life. Plus, you'll be able to look at, okay, my lungs need work today, or my heart needs work today, or my spleen needs work today, because every one of the organs has a location or several locations on the face, and you can use that to read the body very, very powerfully. Okay, you'll easily become the most fascinating person in the room, and you'll be able to look at people, and because of the context and because of their character, their temperament, and their personality markings, you'll be able to actually start to predict their patterns of behavior. It becomes very, very useful. And honestly, if you're looking for, if you're like me, who grew up always being lied to, manipulated, made the fall guy for things, if never being fooled again is important to you, this could be one of the most important courses that you ever get. This is a $1,997 value. It comes with a full-length video training, 3 days, and it comes with a complete manual 1. It teaches you everything above the mask, as I like to say. Because when I first launched this, we were just entering COVID and people were worried, well, if they're wearing masks, how am I going to read the face? Well, everything in this course is above the mask. So if again, once you look at it, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter if they're wearing a mask or not, I can still read them, right? So it's a $1,997 value, but we're not going to stop there. If you grab this package tonight, before the deadline, we're going to give you a bunch of extra stuff. One of the first ones is something I mentioned earlier in the training. Remember I said that my the Killer Influence Defense Against the Dark Arts program was named the #1 NLP course in the world for 2022. Well, it was also named the #1 NLP course in the world for 2023. And because it's all about reading people, understanding people, and influencing and protecting yourself from manipulation and never being fooled again. And how did Sarah put it? Guarding against being, I forget what the word was, but basically it means being lied to or manipulated. We're going to include this course as a bonus for you for the next 15 or 20 people that actually grab this program now. It's a speed profiling, influence, and counter manipulation home study course. This is going to allow you to systematically read a person from their facial markings, their micro expressions. There's lie detection training in this. You'll learn how to do the flag system, which is a focus, lifestyle associations, and groups. Which is how you can actually profile people before you go out on a date with them. You're going to learn the 3 magic questions protocol in the context of lie detection. You're going to learn the 7 most powerful language patterns that exist. You're going to learn how to calibrate. If this is the course I'm thinking, there's actually drills in here for learning how to spot and understand micro expressions. This is one of the most powerful courses that I've ever put together. And it's all focused on protecting yourself against manipulation. There's about 21 different patterns that it's going to introduce you to that will, when you're out on a date with someone, you're out in a meeting, these are defensive patterns that sociopaths, narcissists, human traffickers use to put the whammy on people. You'll learn what they sound like, how they come across. You'll be able to see people role-playing these things. So you'll know what to do and how to counter it. It'll also teach you how to avoid getting sucked into relationships with abusive people. So if you've ever been in an emotionally abusive relationship, it's going to teach you the different characteristics that you need to look for, that you need to watch out for, why most people fall for these things in the first place. And if you ever manage to get extracted from that, the 6 or 7 different ways that these narcissistic abusers actually use to suck you back into the relationship. Okay. You're also going to learn how to connect with people and transfer emotions back and forth. You're going to learn how to do remote influence and emotional bonding. Many of the things that Killer Influence is famous for are also included in this course, but this course puts a much, much higher emphasis on the ability to read, understand, and counteract manipulators. So we're going to give this to you absolutely free because, again, it's in perfect line and perfect harmony with the actual face reading program and why you're here today. So it's going to include how to think like a master influencer, how to control your psycho-emotional state so no one else can, power rapport skills for connecting with anyone, anytime, anywhere, the 7 most powerful hypnotic language patterns that exist, how to use them, how to protect yourself against them, how to manage the emotional states of yourself and other people, how to tap into people's own personal behavior codes so that they, just like the decision-making strategy we talked about, human beings have different processes they run for every behavior they make. We'll teach you how to elicit that and how to use it if that's what you need to, and how to keep it from being done to you. How to emotionally bond to people's deepest desires and have them want to do what you want them to do. But we're also going to start with the master keys for reading anyone instantly, lie detection on demand, how to spot sociopaths, narcissists, and other evil a-holes, as I like to call them, preventing predators from getting their hooks into you, right? predatory psychology. This is really something you need to understand. If you don't understand how these people think, you're going to be on the menu. In fact, one of the things we're going to teach you is predatory victimology. In other words, what are like the 21 different things that these people actually look for to select their targets and their victims? If you don't know what those are, you could be prime pickings. But once you know what they are, you can take yourself off the menu, right? We'll teach you about hypnotic reframing techniques for winning arguments and keeping yourself from being gaslighted. The 21 conversational red flags all narcissists and sociopaths use to avoid taking responsibility for the crap that they do. And finally, of course, how to instantly spot micro expressions and subtle cues. And you get a 214 or 24-page manual called the Killer Influence Mind Control Manifesto that has even more stuff in it that we haven't even talked about yet. Total value on this is $1,997. It's actually more, but total combined value is $3,994. We're not going to stop there, though. We're not done yet. If you grab your package today before the deadline, we're also going to put in one of our most important personal transformation programs we've ever come up with. This is the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course. Now, I know a lot of you guys have mentioned that your coaches, your therapists, your teachers, one of the things that's going to happen as you start delving deeper and deeper into face reading is you're going to find stuff. You're going to find stuff that needs fixing, stuff you didn't even know you had. The building blocks in this program is the fast track to self-directed personal transformation. It also allows you to add another income stream to your coaching or hypnotherapy business by teaching you the 7-stage Identity by Design silo. It's going to allow you to hypnotize anyone, anytime, anywhere, under any circumstance, how to remove blocks and limiting beliefs you didn't even know you had, how to find and remove the hidden negativity that's locked in your body, how to clear up issues that just do not seem to go away, right? If you've ever had a problem, you've gone to somebody, got treated, and it came back, or it started to go down and then it reached a certain level and wouldn't go any further, you've got what we call safety lessons. We have a very specific protocol that you learn in this particular program to zap and remove those things instantly. We're going to teach you how to change that crappy voice inside your head that's always talking you down and telling you all the reasons why you don't deserve good stuff, and have it turn into a voice that builds you up and inspires you and motivates you and gives you the best advice and gives you all the reasons why you deserve to be successful. We're going to take all that and install it at a genetic level. If you think Bruce Lipton's epigenetic training, if we could install that whole thing as a template at the DNA level, we'll show you how to do that. Then what if you could take all the traits, qualities, and characteristics of people who you like and admire and install them as a template in your own mind and body so you can start to replicate those levels of success and understanding. That's the Identity by Design silo. It also includes instant and rapid inductions, a very powerful regression technique that is pleasure-based, that literally rewrites the operating system of your personal history around all your other stuff. Kind of like when you upload a new Windows program around your existing software. Very, very powerful. It also includes a special 30-minute consultation template that has about an 9 out of 10 conversion rate from prospect to client. So if you do see clients and you run them through this process, chances are they will convert to a patient very, very quickly, very, very seamlessly. In fact, most of the time, you don't even have to close them. They'll ask you to take the next step. It's a $1,497 value, comes with a full manual. Total combined value of everything we've talked about so far is $5,491. But we're not going to stop there because this is about reading people. But it wouldn't be, but here's the thing, it would be inappropriate for me to give you a course on how to unpack your stuff without giving you a training that gives you the tools for unpacking your stuff. And that's why we included the Identity by Design. Now, there are other things that go into people reading besides just reading the face. And that's what this next course is all about. It's called People Reading for Fun and Profit. And it's all about body language, how they dress, how they walk, how they stand, where are they pointing the center of their body, where are their feet pointing, what are they doing with their hands, right? It's going to teach you how to understand body language in different contexts. My favorite one being the body language of attraction. Now, why do I say that's my favorite one? It's not the reason you think, or maybe it is. You see, in my experience, the what I call the 1 + 1 = 3 scenario, mommy, daddy coming together to create baby, That to me is the template for all other social interactions. If you look at two people coming together for a negotiation, or two people getting together to discuss a business venture, or any place where two people are coming together to produce something as a unit, you will see very, very similar body language cues and characteristics coming out as they move from stranger to deeper and deeper levels of trust, intimacy, and connection. And it was because of my understanding of the body language of attraction that I was able to create a very easy to learn template that would allow you to heuristically extrapolate what certain body language orientations mean without having 1,000-word or 1,000 description dictionary of every conceivable body language posture. If you understand the continuum, the body language and rapport continuum, then you can look at any two people at any given moment and know who's into who's not, who's more comfortable, who's not, who's submissive, who's dominant, who's not. And you can put these together along with your face reading to create a very powerful personality profile. You'll learn how to influence people without words. You'll learn things like proxemic influence, like standing in certain spatial locations around people will cause them to process your presence differently than if you stand in other places, right? Quick example, if someone's right-handed and I stand on their right side, they'll tend to like me better than if I stand on their left side, on their non-dominant side. If I'm talking to somebody and I'm above their eye level, they'll feel differently about me than if I stand or move myself below their eye level. And neither one is good or bad. It's knowing what makes it more appropriate. There are some times when you need to be seen as the authority and more intimidating and more dominant. And there's times when you need to generate comfort and at ease with people so that they'll do what you want them to do, right? And so that's what this will help you to do. It'll help you understand the proxemics of body language as well. We'll teach you how to dress for success. We'll talk about the 7 different layers of social status and how that relates to dress, how to eliminate behaviors that weaken your influence, how to close more deals, get more dates, and way, way much more. Okay, it's a $1,497 value, but we're going to give this to you absolutely free if you grab this webinar package tonight. It's a $6,988 course or value so far. Some of these things you can't even buy on the website. So let's review what we've got in the package so far. So you're going to get the Secrets of Face Reading Home Study course, Above the Mask. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to throw in the Speed Profiling Killer Influence Defense Against the Dark Arts Home Study course. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. We're also going to include the Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study course valued at $1,497. We're going to give this to you absolutely free as well. We're going to include the People Reading for Fun and Profit Video Intensive. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Again, we want you to have the tools. This is assuming you can't get to a live training. What things need to be in a program that allow you to really maximize your ability to do this? And these are the programs that I believe will give you the biggest bang for your buck. I put them together so you can learn what you need to learn at your own pace in the shortest amount of time possible. Okay, and be comprehensive. And finally, of course, total value is $6,988 if you were to go to buy these things individually on the website. But as Ron Popeil likes to say, but wait, there's more. Today, I want you guys to be empowered. I want you guys to have the protection you need. I want you to understand yourself. I want you to be able to understand the people you love and your clients, your prospects. I want you to be able to really make use of this stuff today. So I'm going to give you the best deal humanly possible. Okay, because of that, you're not going to have to pay $6,988. You're not going to pay $59.87. We're not going to make you pay $34.97. We're not going to charge $24.97. We're not even going to charge you $1,497 for the incredible package that we're offering. For those of you who really want this and know you're ready for it and are ready to take your life to love, you're ready to understand yourself and other people better than you ever thought possible. If you're ready to be more charming, attractive, able to navigate social situations and understand people better so you can help them. You can get it all for one low one-time investment of just $997. If you need a little extra help, we can even break that up into 3 easy installments of just $397 each. All you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/. face. That's www.nlppower.com/face. Face. Perfect. Operators are standing by. When you call, you'll be, Moss will be on the phone. Now, before we go any further, let me just be very clear. Only call if you're serious. If you have questions about the program, Moss is happy to answer that for you. If you call and you get voicemail, which happens very often on these webinars, make sure you leave your phone number, your full name, and your email. If you leave that information on the voicemail, you will qualify for the bonuses. If you don't leave your information and you call back tomorrow, you will not qualify for the bonuses. Okay, so the phone number is 858-282-4663. Let me just do that again really quick. Oh, thank you, Holly, the other Dr. David in the chat. All right, 858-282-4663. Excellent. Moss is handling that. So now there are some of you who are going to be on the fence for this, and I get that. There's some of you like, okay, what's up with that? For those of you who grab this now, I want you to understand something. There is absolutely zero risk to this. After you get your Secrets of Face Reading and Personality Transformation home study course, if it does not live up to everything that I've explained, in fact, if I haven't understated everything you're going to be able to do with this, if you're not on the fast track to understanding people better, reading their personalities and temperaments instantly, if you're not attracting more success in your client work, in your business, in your interpersonal and professional and personal lives, if you're not on the fast track to manifesting the life of your dreams and feeling more secure and confident and powerful on the way, I'll refund every red cent you've invested. You got 60 days to try this on my dime. At the end of 60 days, you're not happy, pick up the phone, let us know, and we'll refund the money. In many cases, we'll even let you keep the program, right? Why? Because we want you to be successful. We want you to have the tools. Some of you mentioned that you want to find your path. Face reading in my world, in my experience, and in the world of my students has been one of the fast tracks to cutting through the bullshit and getting on a life direction that is the most satisfying, thrilling, and fulfilling life you can have. It leads to the best version of yourself. If you're not winning every social encounter, or more, at least more than you started, finding yourself more irresistible and empowered, and just being able to know what to do in certain situations, once again, we'll refund your money. All we ask is during those 60 days when you're learning this program, if you have a sticking point, if you have a question, pick up the phone or send us an email. We will help you as best we can and answer your questions. That's our job. Our job is to make sure you're successful. If after 60 days, you're not there, let us know. We'll refund your money, okay? You have zero risk and everything to gain from this. This is a life changer, folks. All right, all you gotta do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/FACE. That's www.nlppower.com/face. If you have a question, you can email Moss at 858-282-4663. You can also email David at NLP Power. And then I will forward those to Moss and he will answer your questions, or I will answer your questions personally, right? Okay, so for those of you who are early adopters, those of you who just know right away that this is for you, one of the things that you'll hear me say a lot of times when you come to our live events or in our trainings is the behavior that gets rewarded gets repeated. Behavior that gets repeated gets reinforced. And so I'd like to take that, in that spirit, I want to offer you something really cool. For the next 21 people that smash that NLP Power/face link now, that reserve your course right now, I want to reward you with these following special fast action bonuses, okay? These bonuses are only good until I log off the webinar, okay? The bonuses I've already talked about, they're good until 11:59 p.m. tonight. These bonuses, when I click end webinar, they go away. So if you're really serious about getting as much David time, as much practice and hands-on help as humanly possible, this could be the most important part of the webinar for you. Okay. I want to reward you for being a fast action taker. Click that link right now before they're gone. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a 3-month trial membership to our NLP Power Practice Mastermind Mentoring Practice Group. This is the longest running, most commercially successful mentoring program that I know of in the world. It's been running continuously nonstop since October 2010. We'll literally be celebrating our 13-year anniversary next month. Okay. You're going to, and the way it works, let me jump out of my PowerPoint really quick so I can share this with you. Right. So the way this works, guys, is on the 3rd Saturday of every month, people log in through Zoom, or they come in for live training. If you're in the Southern California area, you actually get to come and be in a room with me from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. getting hands-on training demonstrations with me as part of this mastermind program, right? In fact, this Saturday is our first live event since COVID shut everything down and we went to purely virtual. So I'm excited. In fact, what I'll be doing is I might actually live stream a little bit of the live training so you can see what we do. But if you grab this program now, you're going to be able to, if you're in the Southern California area, you can actually come and practice with us this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you're not, you can log in through Zoom and participate virtually. This program has been running nonstop since October of 2010. The way it works is you come in, I get your name, I say, hey, what do you want to learn today? And I write it on the board. And then I go to the person sitting next to you and say, what do you want to learn today? 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 And I write them on the board. And then I step back and I look where all these different desires that you have intersect. I find the connecting threads. And I create that lesson plan right on the spot for the day. And then from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., we spend the entire time doing drills and making sure you can do that stuff in your sleep. At the end of the training, you go off into the world with the new skills and the solutions you came to learn, so you can apply the techniques and the skills that you have. Next month, you come back and I'm going to do the same thing over again. We're going to drill down on the exact sticking points or the exact things you want to emphasize. You won't get a certificate from the mastermind. What you will get is hands-on training. Real practice with real people, either in a live format or a virtual format, but still in real time, right? You get 3 months to try it out. If you love it, let us know. We'll show you how to extend that membership. If you don't love it, you got 3 months hanging out with a bunch of cool people who like to do cool stuff. But that's not all. You see, we've been running this mastermind for close to 13 years. We've had a video camera running every single session for 13 years. We've videotaped every session and we've archived them. Part of it is on our NLP Power website. Part of it is on our members only YouTube channel. Part of it is on our private Facebook page. As an NLP Power Mastermind member, you are allowed to have 24-hour a day, 90-day access to every single video, right? You can binge stuff that's never been shown on YouTube, stuff that's never been used in a product. 13 years of archived video that you can just binge watch to your heart's content. Okay, and you'll see everything from energetics to persuasion to therapeutic interventions, law of attraction, psychic skills, remote influence, remote viewing, language patterns, instant and rapid inductions, attraction skills, and so much more. Accelerated learning, memory enhancement. If it was something the members wanted and it was in our wheelhouse, we practiced it. Okay, you get the full access to the full 12-year archive right now, 12 plus actually, 12-year archive for the time that you're in the mastermind. That's my personal gift for you. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give it to you absolutely free if you're one of the first 21 people to grab your package today. But we're not going to stop. Total combined value now, if you look at this, is $8,985, but we're not done yet. That's only the first fast action bonus. The second one is face reading level 2. This is everything below the mask, right? So remember, the face reading was above the mask. Face reading 2 is below the mask, and it's going to teach you how to look at people's personality and temperament. It's going to help you to diagnose where they're afraid, where they're sad, whether they're generous, whether they're giving, whether they have loose boundaries, whether they're people who step on boundaries. You'll be able to do a deep dive into the subtler nuances of face reading that most people never learn. And you'll be able to, again, go from the hairline. You'll be able to do it in one of two ways. You can do it in what we call a systematic format, where we can literally look from hairline to chin line and profile you in 90 seconds, or we can do the old way, the intuitive way, which is whatever feature pops out at you first, you talk about that. You're going to learn two methods of face reading. One is designed for you to speed profile people, where you literally zigzag down their face from hairline to chin line, cataloging the techniques, the psycho-emotional characteristics that go with it. So you can create a profile that you can use instantly. The other one's a little bit more energetic and intuitive, where you just focus on whatever feature jumps out at you first and you unpack that feature. You're going to learn how to do both, but you'll cover every aspect, every major aspect of the face that is relevant to personality and temperament. It's very, very powerful. It completes your face reading for fun and profit training. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give this to you free because we want you to have, as Dan Kennedy likes to say, the whole enchilada, right? If you add this to what we've talked about already, you're looking at $10,982 value, but we're not done yet. And I don't think that we've ever actually released this to the general public. I might be wrong, but as far as I know, I don't know that we've ever released level 2. So if you go to the website and you can't find level 2, don't be surprised, right? For the first 20, and finally for the next 21 people to register, we're going to include a free VIP super ticket to our next Killer Influence 5-day covert hypnosis certification boot camp. Remember, the Killer Influence curriculum was named the #1 NLP training program in the world 4 years running. You're going to get, if you've ever wanted to learn NLP, if you've ever wanted to learn practical, real-world influence training, techniques you can take out into the world instantly and create the life you want the way that you want it, this is the training for you. Okay, 5 full days of hands-on training in a room with me, January 23rd through the 27th here in, I'm sorry, 24th. Yeah, it's 2024. That's a typo, guys. I'm sorry. It's actually in January. It's going to be 5 full days of hands-on training. We're going to teach you how to control your emotional state at will and then transmit that into other people so that their emotional states change, their perceptual filters change, and all of a sudden they become neurologically primed to interpret anything you say in the best possible way. It's really powerful. It's an extension of our top secret state control training, which you'll never see on our public YouTube channel. This is one of the reasons that makes the Killer Influence, the things that makes the Killer Influence systems so powerful, and why Killer Influence is a prerequisite class for a lot of our more advanced trainings. Okay, we're going to teach you literally how to emanate authority, charisma, and authenticity on command in a room by yourself or in a group or over a chat or over Zoom, anywhere, anytime, anywhere. And you'll be able to practice and train that and calibrate the changes in people in a way that you know you can do this. We're going to teach you how to make people like, love, trust, and be attracted to you and follow your leads for their own reasons, not because you say so, but because doing what you want actually gives them everything they want. We'll teach you how to hypnotize people during normal conversations without sounding creepy, vague, or confusing in a fun, easy, organic way. We're going to show you, once again, how to read people instantly, detect lies, speed profile and cold read them, and so much more. Combine this is a $3,150 value. We're going to give this to you absolutely free. Now, the best thing about our VIP tickets is that they don't expire. Let's say that for whatever reason, you can't make it to San Diego in 2024, or in January of 2024, but you still want to come to Killer Influence. Well, all you got to do is pick up the phone, send Moss or me an email, or call us on the phone. Let us know you can't make it. And if you in our database as being a VIP ticket holder, we will move you to the next available training. If something comes up at if you're planning on going to a training, or actually if let's say that the dates conflict with something you've got going on, your boss is making you work, or we have another lockdown or something weird happens, you don't think you can go to a training, but then something happens at the last minute where now you can go, but the training is sold out. If you're a VIP ticket holder, what we will actually do for you is we will actually make a seat for you. If you're a VIP ticket holder and you let us know you want to come, all we ask is to give us at least 24 hours notice so we can have a manual prepared for you. We'll find a seat for you. If next year the price for this training goes up, your seat is guaranteed no matter what the price. Okay, so if it's $31.50 at the door now, but in January it's $37.50 at the door, you don't pay a dime extra. Okay, you got the VIP ticket, you're getting in for free. Your ticket, your seat is guaranteed no matter how high the price goes up. It's worth the investment just for that. Okay, let's say that you've already had Killer Influence, but you have somebody that you think would benefit from it. You can gift your VIP ticket to them and they can come to the training, and now you have a practice buddy, right? So it doesn't expire. You have it until you use it. If you can't come, we'll move you to another training. If you can't, you can come at the last minute. We'll make a seat for you, and your price is guaranteed. This is actually one of the most popular aspects of our program is this VIP ticket. We have people that have been buying these webinars packages. I don't recommend you do this because we're going to find a way to put the kibosh on it. But we have people who've figured out that it's actually easier to buy the webinar packages and come to the trainings than to pay full retail for it. So we're on to you guys. So we're probably going to put some rules in the future. But right now, if you want to come to trainings, this is the best way to get there. This is 5 full days of me and a bunch of other people who want to do this stuff in a room, doing the drills and getting the skills. Total combined value is $14,132. All you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/face, F-A-C. Let's review this really, really quick. The Secrets of Face Reading Home Study Course, $1,997 value, comes with the Defense Against the Dark Arts Home Study Course, Speed Profiling and Counter Manipulation Training, $1,997 values. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're going to give you the Real World Hypnosis Identity by Design Hypnotherapy Home Study Course, $1,497 value. Once again, for you and for your clients. Best income stream builder ever next to face reading, absolutely free. We're going to give you the People Reading for Fun and Profit Home Study Course, $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you free. We're going to give you a 3-month trial membership plus the 13-year archive to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. So $1,997 value. We're going to do this for you absolutely free. We're also going to include Face Reading for Fun and Profit Level 2, Below the Mask Training, and Speed Profiling Techniques. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to do this for you absolutely free. And it's going to come with that Killer Influence VIP Super Ticket, 5-day certification boot camp, January 23rd to the 27th. There, we have the right dates, 2024, right? It's a $3,150 value. We're giving it to you free. The entire package, $14,132. If you were to try to buy these things individually, and some of these, I don't think you can, last time I looked. Right? You're going to get it all for one low investment at just $997. And it's actually I'm finding typos everywhere. Seth is going to yell at me because he wanted to proofread my stuff before I did this. It's 3 easy installments of just $397. All you got to do to get yours is go to www.nlppower.com/FACE, www.nlppower.com/face. Click the chat or click those links now. Let's go ahead and take a 7-minute break. While you folks do that, when we come back, we're going to enter part 3 of our webinar, where we're going to build on the foundations. We're going to finish the emotional map of the face. Then we're going to go into specific applications, answer specific questions. And if we have time, maybe we'll do a little bit of shit clearing, show you how to start to unpack some of those things. Okay, so it is 5:54 now. I will see you at 6:01. Click that link. Reserve your spot, get your VIP tickets, and let's work together so that you can become a master of understanding people, reading their faces, and influencing and persuading people to do what you want the way that you want, starting with yourself. This is Dr. David. I will see you in 7 minutes. Click that link, guys. Go ahead. All right, guys, I'm back from my break. So while you're clicking those links and stuff like that, what I will do is my tradition whenever I get back early from a break. What are your questions? Lolita's asking, will I get an email confirmation? Yes. What will happen, Lolita, is that once your payment's been processed, my web guy, Brandon, and my administrative demigod, Moss, will start setting up your account. And they'll be sending you, you should get a notification that your stuff is ready and you can log into your account and start downloading your products or watching or streaming them online. I recommend that when you log in, that you download the videos. Why is that? Because there's thousands of people who use that website, and the more people streaming, the slower it gets. Marion says, thank you, David, invaluable. Thank you, Marion. I know there's a little bit of a delay between when my voice comes through and I see in the chat, so I just want you to say that. You're welcome, Lolita. Click the links, guys. Seriously, I want you all here. Honestly, my big thing, my evil agenda is to get your butts in seats at the Killer Influence training so I can teach you personally how to functionalize all this stuff. You're going to get great training from the videos, but people will tell you, veterans, you need to do this for me. Those of you who've been to live events with me, tell these people in your own words the difference that live event makes. Okay? Lolita says, can't wait till the live. I can't wait either. I'm excited. Yeah. Holly says, oh, there's absolutely no substitute for live event. They are so much more powerful. Yeah. I had people that spent years watching us online, doing virtual events. Julie's got her paid time off approved, coming to Killer Influence. Yes, Julie, welcome. Click those links, guys. Those free seats are going fast. Royce wants to go to IBD Live. Come on in, Royce. Kim Rios, live event was life-changing, Kim says. Yep, very good. Veterans, thank you so much for telling, because they expect me to tell you the stuff's the best thing since sliced bread, right? You guys know that. But the truth is that you guys live it, right? All right, so our break is officially over. Click those links right now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move out of the offer time. And now we're going to look at, we're going to finish the emotional map. This is my intention, okay? We're going to finish the emotional map. And as we do that, I want you guys to be thinking, what applications, I know I had you do this at the beginning of phase 2, but I want you to reiterate, maybe your priorities have changed as I was going through the different layers of the offer. What do you want to focus on for the last hour or so that we're together? What do you, besides the emotional map, what else do you guys want to know about? Type that in the chat. Erasing lines. Okay. Cindy McDonough says erasing lines. Anybody else? Specific question for you, clearing lines. Okay. I see there's a trend forming here. Manifesting better health. Okay. Pores. Nikia, what do you mean about pores? What do you want to know about pores, sweetie? I assume you're female. I probably shouldn't do that because I'm in California. That shit can come back to haunt you quick. So when you say pores, what specifically do you want to know about pores? Protection methods for shielding yourself from others' shit. Okay. All right. Ken, that's more of an empathic thing, but I can talk about it. I have lots of techniques for that, by the way. One of the things you might have heard me mention was that I'm working on a doctorate in medical Qigong. And the curriculum that I'm learning is the actual training protocol that medical Qigong doctors in China in the Qigong hospitals were put through. And one of the things that most people don't realize is that when you're a Qigong doctor, you are immersed in other people's shit 24/7, or at least 18 hours out of every 24. And so one of the things that these medical Qigong doctors had to be really, 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 really good at was shielding and protecting themselves from taking on others' crap. So when you talk about how do you protect yourself, I got tons of drills and trainings that go with that. And pardon me for my allergies are kicking up. I don't know. I can talk about some of them on tonight's webinar and maybe give you like bullet points, but it's actually better if you come to the mastermind this weekend, because it's all focused. It's all going to be focused on energetics, and I guarantee you that that subject is going to come up, right? Royce is talking about the training on the 1 through 10. We'll be doing that this weekend, but we'll also be doing advanced shielding. Yeah, this Saturday. Are you local? And, okay, well that's fine. As long as you're in the group, in the mastermind group, we'll be streaming it so you can participate virtually, so you can get the training, right? But you got to be a mastermind member. And the fastest way to do that is just grab your package now. Oh, awesome, cool. All right, let's finish the map, and then we'll drill down on clearing those lines. Okay. All right, so where is my face? There it is. My face. How I made it funny. All right. Oh crap, that's not what I wanted to do. All right. So as you can see, these webinars are not scripted. They're not done in advance. Okay, let me just make sure all right, so we started with skepticism, right? And we went to joy, sadness, sorrow, grief, lost love, and mania. Next thing we're going to talk about is the lines of humor. Humor can be seen by a little line right in the center of the lip. These are people who enjoy a good joke and often tell a good joke. They're not going to be little sticks in the mud. I'm going to give you one characteristic that's not on this chart that I want you to be on the lookout for. And it's in the upper lip. So every now and then you're going to see people with a little extra flesh in their lip. The best way I can describe it, I'm going to actually zoom in on my face a little bit here. Okay, so if you guys know, if you ever taken some clay and you pinch it, you ever notice that where your fingers come together, there's this little raised area in the clay? You know what I'm talking about? You guys can imagine it, right? Signal that you can imagine it, so I know I'm not crazy. Okay, if you look at a person's lip and you see a little extra flesh, like somebody pinched clay, be very, very careful around that kind of a person. Okay, if you're if you have this marking, what I'm about to say is going to put you in denial. Do I have it? No, I don't, but my kids do. Right? I call this a histrionic lip. So what does that mean? When you have a little bit of extra flesh here, these people are drama magnets. They will start conflicts just because they're bored. If they have a flat tire on the way to work, by the time they get there, it's a 6-car accident. Now they're not necessarily liars, but they're exaggerators. So, and they always deny this, by the way. They'll always be the first ones to, I don't do that. Trust me, they do. Okay. So again, I'm giving you that for free. I know it's going to be very provocative. Don't believe me. Just go out into the world, and as you're doing as you're just randomly scanning people's faces, see how many people you know who are on that histrionic side have that extra flesh. Prove me wrong, or prove me right, one way or the other. But I want to give you this one, because if you have this lip, you're always going to, every single person I've ever confronted with this lip has gone into denial, and everybody around them just done this. Okay. Be very aware of the feedback you're getting from the world. Okay. Now, this doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that the filters you have in place are like funhouse mirrors. First of all, every human being on the planet has a 4-to-1 negativity bias. What does that actually mean? Functionally, it means if a good thing happens to you, your neurology assigns a gravity of 1 to that experience. If something negative happens to you, one negative thing happens to you, your neurology assigns a gravity of 4 to that experience. For those of you talking about the YouTube level in the chat, those prices are changing. So if you're already a YouTube member and you're at a certain price point, you're okay. But people joining going forward, there's going to be another level that's a higher price that gives you the Mastermind Live. So for those of you going back and forth in the chat, that's something you can worry about later. Okay, let's learn about face reading right now. Okay. Does this track? Does anybody know people who are what I described that have that lip? Type it in the chat. Yeah. So that tracks, Lydia? Gina says myself. Yes. Okay. So remember, if you have that lip, you're not a bad person. But what does tend to happen is you tend to exaggerate things even more so and blow them out of proportion in your mind. And when you express yourself, that's what comes out, and it can provoke people. Okay. So you become aware of that pattern in yourself and then decide if it serves you or not. I'm not going to pass judgment on it. But if you have people, like if you're managing a team, for example, and you have people with this lip, and there's going to be, and they're just coming on, be prepared for drama. There's going to be some kind of, inevitably, there will be some kind of friction, misunderstandings, whatever. Okay. It's not that they're bad people. It's just, they're just very histrionic in that respect. I have a little girl, my lovely Princess Sophia. She will start fights and arguments and say the most provocative things just to get a rise out of people because she's bored. Okay. Smart as a whip, but dangerous. Okay. So again, that's a freebie. It's not on your emotional map. I even debated whether to share it with you, but if you're in a lot of interpersonal shit with people, look there. It may not be you. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Let's go back. So if you see that histrionic lip, be very careful, be very aware. Erase this. Back. Okay. So sense of humor, like to tell a good joke, appreciate a good joke. Little flesh up here tends to blow things out of proportion. If you see lines that start at the corner of the mouth and track down, these are called disappointment lines. Now, these are really, really important. The next three characteristics I'm going to tell you about, they're individual traits, but if you see them all on a face, that should be a red flag. So let me explain this. So disappointment is exactly that. This person who has these lines without making a face, when their face is at rest, has experienced a growing, increasing level of disappointment in their life that they simply haven't been able to put away or to let go of. Okay. Directly above the lip, these little vertical or these horizontal lines here. What happened to my mouse again? Really? I think we had another mouse mishap. All right, well, we'll just have to play this by ear then. So, wait, oh, my whole thing locked up. Need a fucking favor. Yeah. What's going on? It's ready. So here, I'm going to do this here. All right. Okay, guys. Okay, guys, I'm still here. I apologize. I don't know why my camera's not showing me either, but anyway. Are you still co-host, Moss?
Yeah, I think you just had the wrong one locked on there.
Hold on a second.
So grab host. Or if I can do it for you.
Yeah, fix it. I gotta get in. This is insane.
I got you. So, and
Why am I not showing up?
well, that's the other one, but now you are.
Oh, okay.
It should be good now.
Okay. All right.
You're muted though.
All right. So, well, we're back. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and go really fast through this. I do apologize. It must be I just started a new level of energy training today. And apparently it's really screwing with my stuff. So I apologize. So let's talk about these lines. So the vertical lines here are bitterness lines. Now, what this means is that this person grew up with a set of rules about how life is supposed to be lived. And usually what it means are sorry, not bitterness. These are over nurturing lines rather. So these lines up here are over nurturing. People who exhibit these lines are giving all of their energy, all of their time, all of their resources for the benefit of other people. I like to tell people that you're sacrificing your future for other people's present. So you see these lines a lot in home health aides, nurses, daycare workers, people who are taking care of loved ones who are suffering from a terminal or chronic illness. But the psychology behind it is interesting because what happens in this case is these people were raised with this idea that recording stopped. Which recording? Moss is just logging. The recording will start again once he logs back in. Don't worry. Just focus on me for now. Okay. So these persons grew up with that if you give and you give and you give, the world will give back, right? And so they followed that rule.
they gave and they gave and they gave, and people were taking and taking and taking, and they kept waiting for the universe to give back to the degree that they felt they've been giving. Nanosys. All right. So people are telling me that the recording stopped. Is that true? Not true? Okay, the live stream is still going. Okay, good. All right, let me pin my screen back here. I had to switch computers again because my brand new system just crashed. So I want to go ahead and let me get back to my chart. There we go. All right, I'm going to try to minimize switching screens now. So, all right. So this line up here, this bitterness, or this over nurturing line, what happened with these folks is they kept giving and giving and giving, and the world never returned their investment. In other words, they kept seeing people breaking the rules, not giving, not doing the right things, and getting ahead while they kept following these rules that they were taught, and they never ever got the payoff. And so what happens is they start to drain their own energy. Now, if that happens for a long enough period of time, they start to experience disappointment because of that chronic people not living up to their expectations. And after a while, that disappointment turns into bitterness. And when you have all three of these lines showing up, again, please take this in the spirit in which I am intending it. In my opinion, you have a recipe for cancer, right? I've worked with thousands and thousands of people clinically. And the one thing I can tell you is that there's no such thing as an emotionally healthy cancer patient. In fact, one of the things you'll see very often is a term is called toxic positivity. Everything's wonderful, everything's beautiful, and they've got fucking breast tumors, right? The reason that the cancer forms is because after so many years of disappointment, the bitterness continues to build, and they reach a sense of realizing it's not going to change. And so what happens is the body wants a way out, and so it creates some kind of a chronic illness. Now, let me be very clear. If you have these markings, it does not mean you're going to get cancer. It does not mean you have cancer. What it does mean, if you as a therapist see these markings, is there's shit coming that's brewing in their intestines, it's brewing in and around their stomach, and it's coming one way or another. It's going to manifest at some point as a chronic illness. So if you got people who are manifesting things like IBS, Crohn's disease, what are some other ones? You guys know a lot of the bowel disorders. Look at their face and check for markings in this area. You're going to find a lot of times that they're marking here. And if you clear up the emotions, not only will the face start to clear up, but the bowel problems will as well. Okay. Are you guys with me so far? Does that make sense? Chronic fatigue. Yeah. Chronic fatigue can be actually have several different indicators, but yeah, that can be one of them for sure. And again, what I found through years and years of doing this is how damn accurate the Chinese diagnostic systems are, or the Asian diagnostic systems are. And in fact, there was a book that Lillian showed us. It was a copy of a book that was 2,500 years old on Chinese medicine. And the very second page of the book was facial diagnosis, what to look at, where to look, right? That's how long this stuff's been around. So there's a long track record of evidence and observation-based training with this, okay? So again, vertical lines above the lips, over nurturing, lines at the corner of the mouth descending down, disappointment, vertical lines below the lips, bitterness. If all three of these are showing up, you've got some kind of chronic illness that even if it hasn't physically manifested yet, it's down there. So you might as well start clearing it and beat it before it becomes a problem. Now, keep in mind, if you're a hypnotherapist or a coach, these lines may have nothing to do with why they came to see you. But if you're doing any kind of uncovering work, at some point, you'll probably be dealing with this. So again, you treat or you work with whatever presents at in your clinic, but understand that these other things, everything's connected. So, okay. So next we're going to talk about is going to be purpose lines, because some people were asking about purpose. But before we do that, let me just go ahead and review the offer that we talked about. Did you read with the PowerPoint?
I just picked up over here. I didn't know where anything else was.
All right. No, you know what? I'm just going to stick with the laptop for now. All right. So just to reiterate, for those of you who missed the offer earlier, we have the face reading for fun and profit above the mass training. It's a $1,997 value. That's going to come with the defense against the dark arts, speed profiling, and hold on a second. Speed profiling and counter manipulation training. It's a $1,997 value. You're going to get the Identity by Design, Real World Hypnosis, Hypnotherapy Home Study Program, $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. You're going to get the face reading for fun and profit level 2 below the mass training. It's a $1,997 value. Total combined value is, I believe, was $6,000. So that was, for that part was $6,088, $6,088 or something like that. Hold on a second. $6,988, but we're also going to include the fast action bonuses, which includes the 3-month trial program to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program, valued at $1,997. Comes with a 12-year video archive and 3 months trial. Now, remember, if you grab this mastermind program as part of the overall training package, right, you get 3 months. And if you're in the SoCal area, you don't have to watch it on your computer or your phone. You can literally come down to the Country Inn and Suites and train with us personally, right? You get to binge watch the 13-year archive to your heart's content for the full 90 days. And if after those 90 days you decide you want to stay, you just let us know and we'll show you how to extend your membership. For those of you who are ready to get off your butts and into the world, you also get that free VIP super ticket, $3,150 value, the Killer Influence 5-day covert hypnosis virtual live training boot camp here in San Diego. The room that we're teaching out of only holds 30 people. And to keep the price and everything down, we're actually limiting it at 30 people. So this will probably be the last time we offer VIP tickets for this event because we're really close to being full. So if anything I've talked about today has intrigued you, has inspired you, and you want to take your skills to the next level, click that link right now, www.nlppower.com/FACE, www.nlppower.com/face. Click those links right now before the last few remaining slots are gone so that I can train you the way you need to be trained to get the life you want, the way that you want it, to read people and understand them better. Okay. Remember, those VIP tickets, they don't expire. So if you can't come to the January training, we'll move you to the next available training for you. If something comes up at the last minute and you can come where you couldn't before, but it's sold out, we'll squeeze you in somehow. Okay. So that being said, let's go ahead and get back to our chart. I have to. Okay, so, all right, so purpose lines. Now, if you look at the nose, you'll see a line that travels from the outside of the nose down the lines here. These are called, in Chinese systems, these are called Fa Ling lines. Lillian called these purpose lines. These of the lines on the face, these are the ones that you most want to have. And the Chinese would say, if you don't have these lines by the time you hit your 50s, you're missing the boat. Okay? These are called purpose lines because these lines signify that the person is on track, that they're following the path that they came here to follow, right? Now, one of the things we didn't get a chance to cover, but we'll talk about really quick, is that you can divide the face into right and left hemispheres. Okay? The right side of the face, and the left side of the face. The right side of the face is a person's public face. The left side of the face is their private face. Now, what this means is this is who we are when nobody's around or the people we trust most in the world. This is the face, the mask that we want to show the world, that we want everybody to perceive us as being. So one of the things you can start to look at when you look at these Fa Ling lines is where are they deeper? If the line is deeper on the right side of the face, you're looking at somebody who's more on track in their day-to-day life, in their public life. If the line is deeper here, you're looking at someone who's more on track in their private life. Maybe they're not in a job that they love, but it pays the bills. But at home, they're really happy. Everything is very fulfilling, very satisfying. They're doing the things that their spirit incarnated to do, right? If they're balanced, as you can probably guess, everything's good, right? But really pay attention to the symmetry of lines from the right side to the left side, because this will tell you where they're having the most emotional repression, the most emotional processing, things of that nature, okay? Okay, so Lolita's asking, what about head injuries that have altered the face? Head injuries that have altered the face will also tend to alter personality. So a lot of times you'll see behavioral changes happen as a byproduct of those injuries. In fact, in the face reading training, we'll actually talk a lot about why certain types of plastic surgery are not a good idea. Okay. Jax is asking, what about the chin bone that juts out about 1.5 inches from the rest of the face? Is it about 3 inches? Okay. When you have a chin that juts out, you've got someone who's a slow action taker. Okay. Think of it like a reverse, like a serrated edge. These people don't take, they may make decisions fast, but they take action slowly. Can that be healed? Lolita, I've come to the conclusion that there are very few things that truly can't be healed. The question is how, and how much time, energy, and resources are involved. The longer I do this, the more quote unquote miracles I see as people tap into the power of their nervous system. Okay. So my answer is yes, I believe it can be. Does that mean I'm right? We'll see, right? All right, I see a lot of questions coming up about certain markings. Trust me, we're gonna finish the markings on the face and then I'll drill down on what you guys wanna ask about. So Gina's asking, what's a line from the center of the nose down to the middle top of the lip? One complete line? I'd have to see that one, Gene. Okay, so purpose lines are good things. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick detour up the center line of the body. If you go straight up the center line of the body, you'll notice that there's some lines here and some lines here. These lines, my teacher called them disempowerment lines. I call them appeasement lines. So let me jump out of the graph, but these lines are like little diagonal lines. Let me jump out of the share real quick. So if you think about these lines, right, they're like little diagonal lines that come right down like this. I call these appeasement lines because in the pathogenesis of this person, what happened was this person was the target of an abusive person, someone who violated their boundaries. And when the bad guy violated their boundaries, they stood their ground and they pushed back against that person. And when they pushed back against the violator pushed back even harder. And because the person being violated was met with such overwhelming force, rather than continue to fight back, they said, okay, just stop hitting me, just stop hurting me, whatever you want, I'll do what you want, right? How many of you have ever heard of a television show called All in the Family? Type it in the chat if you've heard of that. If you haven't, it's worth watching. It would never be allowed on the air today, okay? But you remember the character of Edith Bunker, played by Gene Stapleton? Classic appeasement lines. It's okay, Archie, don't worry, I'll make it better, it's all good, right? That's a classic appeasement marking, okay? Now, this person may not show that in terms of their behavior, but if they have these markings, they've had those experiences. Now, from a profiling perspective, from a personal safety perspective, if you have clients coming in and they have these lines, at some point you're probably going to, again, don't go looking for it, let it come up on its own. But at some point, you're probably going to be dealing with abuse cases or abuse issues, either childhood abuse or domestic abuse or something along those lines. But what happened in those cases was the person, you have this violator come in, violates their boundaries, right? They try to push back, they try to fight back, they're met with more overwhelming force, and they just say whatever you want. They supplicate, they capitulate, right? They're going to mark. Now, one of the things that you as a therapist or you as a, if you have these lines, I'm not going to ask if this is true for you, you'll know. But one of the things that from a counter manipulation perspective, my personal belief is that subconsciously, a lot of predators know this. Because if you know that this is the behavior, what can you extrapolate about a person with these markings? Type in the chat. When you see these markings, what do you know about this person? Instantly, or at least with a high degree of accuracy, of probability. What do you know? Oh shit, he's asking us questions. I thought this was a class where I just got to sit and take notes. Jennifer says you can take advantage. They're accustomed to it. Exactly. What does it mean? Is it that if you impose on this person's boundaries and they put up a fight and you just push a little bit harder, they're going to give you what you want. Okay. So if you have these markings, clean them up. Invest in personal empowerment, not just on a mental and emotional level, but on a physical level. Develop the physical ability to stand up for yourself and protect yourself and the will to use it. Okay. What I have found in my life, because I'm a martial arts teacher, is that the ability to protect yourself mentally and emotionally goes hand in hand with your physical ability to protect yourself on a body level. A lot of people don't like doing martial arts. It's terrifying, it's intimidating. But again, the physiology controls the psychology. If you're not able to fight back, to push back to a certain degree, you're going to get crushed. Right? Again, I'm not trying to be negative. I want to protect you. I want to empower you. And somebody's got to tell you some of this shit, whether you want to hear it or not. Right? So one of the fastest ways to protect yourself against people before they have a chance to inflict themselves on you is the face reading and the dark arts manipulation training. Right? So if you haven't clicked that link to reserve your spot, do it. Hand in hand with that, and when you come to the training, I'm going to tell you exactly the same thing I'm about to tell you now. Invest in some form of physical self-protection. Take a martial arts or self-defense class, ongoing. Learn how to use a gun and be willing to use a gun. Learn how to use a knife and be willing to use a knife. Taser, stun gun, pepper spray, okay? Something to bolster your physical ability to push back, okay? You've got to support your emotion and your will with the skill to go with it. Does that make sense? Type in the chat. I want to make sure you guys are with me on this. Okay. Okay. So Nikki's asking, hold on a second. What does it mean to have a line in the center of the nose? Okay, you've asked me this question already, Nick. Oh no, this is an older question. Okay, Nikia, I'd have to see the line because there's two different lines. There's a line that's here and there's a line that's here. I rarely see one that goes all the way down. But what that line can mean if it goes all the way through, it relates to the stomach. Based on the work of Eric Standoff, it's somebody who has a very elongated stomach. So these people can eat, they're always eating. How about a kid being bullied at school? Same thing, right? You've got to give them the mental and emotional skills to cope, but you've got to help bolster their physical ability and willingness to push back. One of the problems that I see, and again, remember, I'm a martial artist. I'm a self-defense instructor. I've been trying to empower women and small people since I was old enough to stand, that I can remember. You've got to give people the ability and the will to fight back. Now, we live in a place where we're taught that if somebody picks on you, go tell the teacher. Okay. And what if that doesn't work? Then what do you do? Right? What I see, and this is something I learned from one of my other mentors, a very colorful character by the name of Dr. John LaTourette. And he said it like this in a very colorful way. He said, if you walk around looking like a bologna sandwich, don't be surprised when somebody tries to take a bite out of you, right? I've told my kids, Julie, I've told my kids, I don't care who starts it as long as you finish it, right? I will never yell at you for protecting yourself. I will yell at you for being a bully and picking on people. So you better make damn sure what side of that moral line you're on, right? But if they get kicked out of school for fighting because somebody was picking on them and they wouldn't, nothing was being done, I'm in my kid's court. Sorry. That makes me a bad person. So be it. Find another channel, right? But that's just how it is, right? I've seen what happens when this is left to chance. Okay, I had a very dear family member of mine become a victim because of this, and not on my watch, if you know what I'm saying. Not on my watch. So, that being said, has this been fun? Has this been useful? Cool. Okay. Let's finish up the map, and then we'll spend a few moments drilling down on some other stuff. Okay. Let me just turn it off eraser mode and go back to pen mode. So it's hard to see this from this particular map, but if you look right in front of the ear, are these little vertical lines that look like gills. I actually have these. Let me see if I can put myself on camera so you can see them. Okay, I don't know if you can see them on the camera. Can you see these little wrinkles right in front of my ear? I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can see them real well. Anyway, these lines are called auditory intuition lines. And you remember at the beginning of the webinar, I talked about how I was a kid, I grew up being bullied, and I was so worried about being taken advantage of or picked on that I became very hyper aware and hyper acuity. This is a byproduct of growing up in an environment like that. We call this, my teacher called these auditory intuition lines. And they turn into a superpower later in life, but they start off as a self-defense mechanism, because people who develop these lines grew up in an environment where they had to be very, very aware of how things were being said, what was being said. They had to learn how to read below the surface or read between the lines to determine what mood somebody was in. Like one of my friend Chase, he had this on a visual level. He was so he had a father who sometimes drank a little too much sometimes, and he had this tell. His eyes would get all fluttery when he had been drinking too much. And Chase became so acutely aware of that he was able to just pinpoint instantly when there was danger, right? This, because people were always manipulating me and talking negatively to me or lying to me or whatever, I developed auditory acuity lines that allow me to hear. We call them built-in bullshit detectors. Can you see the lines again? I don't know if you can see them with this camera. Maybe I can take a picture. I'll tell you what, I'll take like a little selfie and I'll post it in the chat or something. Trevor's asking, is there a facial line or something that a person who one may consider a narcissist person have on their face? There actually is. And it was actually discovered through the use of big data computers. It's the left eyebrow. There's something that the computers picked up in the left eyebrow of someone who's rates very high on the narcissistic spectrum. Usually narcissistic people have very thick, very prominent eyebrows, or very, very fine, not fine in the sense of like wispy. They're very defined, they're very elegant eyebrows. But it's the left eyebrow in particular that the scientific research earmarked as being strongly narcissistic or being present in people judged as being narcissistic. There are other things on the face that can point to narcissistic tendencies. It doesn't mean they're a narcissist. Remember, every human being on the planet is a narcissist. It's a spectrum. It's not you're either this or that. There's a whole continuum of narcissistic behavior that people fall on, right? That's the reason the echo technique works, is because your autonomic nervous system is inherently selfish. It's always scanning the environment for things that are relevant to itself, right? Narcissists will flag themselves because of their overuse of the word I and how everything revolves around them, even when it doesn't, right? But each and every one of us have a certain degree of narcissism in us, right? So things like very strong, a lot of testosterone will tend to lead towards more narcissistic behaviors. Strong metallic features, which again comes from the classical Chinese face reading, will tend to lead toward more self-centeredness. But also strong water feature, like if someone has a weak kidney energy, a lot of fear energy, they'll tend to be more towards a covert narcissistic perspective because they come from a place of the world's always picking on you, right? So there's no one single fate. Based on the science, the one prominent characteristic I can talk about is the left eyebrow, but I don't know much more than that. Okay, so the short answer is yes, there is things. To judge narcissism, I would actually look more at constellations of traits, which is where the master level of face reading comes in. Is that, okay, I know this is a strong liver, I know this is a strong water. How do these two influence each other? It's called trait stacking and combining, right? How are they going to work and how are they going to buffer or enhance one another? That's where you can start to make real complex extrapolations. But you got to learn the individual traits first. Okay. Yeah. Overuse of the word I. Yeah. And again, when you get the dark arts package, you'll see it in the 21 conversational red flags and patterns. You'll see that overemphasis on them as the central figure. It's in your program, right? So when you get that and you start going through it, it'll just jump out at you. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Let me see where I'm at in terms of the facial map. Oh, one other thing about these markings. They rest on a meridian known as the triple warmer meridian. The triple warmer meridian governs your fluid metabolism. So one of the things that tends to go with these lines is a tendency to drink a lot and towards dehydration, right? Now, the problem with that isn't the drinking. it's that the more you drink, the more you pee. The more you drink, the more you pee, the more electrolytes you excrete. The faster your electrolytes drop, the more your heart rhythm gets out of balance. So it's not uncommon for people with these markings to experience irregular heartbeats or tachycardia. They think they're panic attacks, but what it actually is more often than not is an electrolyte imbalance. So if you have these markings and you feel like you're prone to panic attacks or irregular heartbeats, rapid heartbeat, lower heartbeats, things of that nature, start supplementing with electrolytes and see if those symptoms diminish. Because that's again, physical and emotional go together, right? Now, there's another marking that I also have. I'm going to go to the, Jess B says dehydration. I know it's true. Yep. Yeah. So again, you have a superpower, but every superpower has a downside. You know, Superman had his kryptonite. We have our water metabolism stuff and our electrolyte issues, right? I guzzle electrolytes like it's going out of style. Cindy McDonough says, oh my gosh, thank you. You're welcome. Okay. All right. So there's another line. I'm going to see if I can find my ear chart. Here we go. Ears. Here we go. All right. So on the facial chart, you'll see little lines here. Sometimes, let me make this a little smaller. Sometimes there'll be one line. Sometimes there'll be two lines. Every now and then you'll see three. This line indicates what we call blood pressure irregularities. Now, this does not mean you're going to have a heart attack. What this means is that sometimes your blood pressure is too high. Sometimes blood pressure too low. Lots of variability. Now, one of the other things that goes with this is they're prone to be hyper reactive or oversensitive shock. So let me explain that. When you see these vertical line markings on the ear, hold on a second. When you see these vertical line markings on the ear, this is someone who, again, it doesn't mean they're going to have a heart attack, but actually Dr. Ken will tell you that this marking is actually known in the medical field as the cardiac, I think it's called the cardiac notch, right? This person has erratic blood pressure. So sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. These people may experience dizziness if they stand up too quick, but they're also prone to shock. So the example I often use, have you guys, Jack says, when I come to IBD, will I get a face reading from you? I will probably do I always do some degree of face reading at every training I do, because I want to give people exposure to how face reading complements and makes everything more effective, right? But usually at IBD, there's at least 4 or 5 certified face readers that I've trained there. So if you want a face reading, it's not hard to get, right? It's just a question of how much is the person charging to do the face reading. Reynard says, that answered so many things about myself. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. Very good. Okay. So again, I have them, right? Fortunately, because I know about them, I can do something about them. If you don't know about them, they're like little landmines waiting to come haunt you. One of the things that is interesting about this behavior is, let's say they're very prone to surprise and overreactive to shock. So let's say I'm walking down a hallway and someone comes around the corner that I wasn't expecting. And the average person would have a shock level of like 4 or 5. Someone with this marking might experience it as a 7 or 8, maybe even faint if it's sudden enough. So that's what I mean when I have an exaggerated surprise or startle response, right? So again, if you have these notches, it doesn't mean you're going to have a heart attack. It means you should probably, though, be very mindful of your cardiovascular health and spend a lot more time with meditations, breathing exercises, things of that nature. Okay. Is this helpful? You guys, are we getting some benefits from this? Cool. All right, there's some some interesting questions. Again, if I don't get your question answered during the webinar, remember when this webinar goes live, unusual in format though it may be, I will go back and I will physically answer the questions posted in the comment section. So if you're not getting your questions answered here, remember, I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to abandon you. Okay. And of course, when you come to the live training in January, you have me for 5 full days. You can ask me anything you want. I will stay as long in training as you want, because that's what I love to do. Now that I'm actually back in California where we're based, I may actually start doing my nightly martial arts training sessions again and teach you guys the fear control methods from my martial arts trainings and things like that. Zerlinda says so many benefits from the basic training thing. Yeah, the emotional map is worth its weight in gold. You know, if you have the decision-making ideas, you have this emotional map. Remember, if this is everything there is, we've scratched the surface, guys. We really have. Will IBD be in San Diego in 2024? More than likely, yes, Royce. More than likely, yes. Ken says, great, now I need to move to California. Moss did. He actually, when he first started training with us, he was living in Manhattan. And 2 months ago, he literally packed his truck and moved to Beverly. So now he's actually here interning, right? Because now that's what I'm doing now is for my Mega Platinum coaching clients who want to go on and actually do this at a different level. I'm doing personal mentoring on a much deeper level than most people would normally get. So if you're in the area, you know, opportunities are here. How bad do you want it? It's really about that. I'm not special, believe it or not. I just wanted things more than most people around me, and I was willing to do more things to get them. And that's always how it's going to be. You know, as my teacher, Sifu Johnson, used to say, this world is actually quite fair. You just don't understand how that fairness works. Arthur says, I'll move from Australia. Well, if things work out, maybe I'll come see you in Australia in a couple of years, my friend. I just got back in May. Michigan here too. Very good. All right. Let me finish the emotional map. Okay. I'm glad you guys are having fun. So coming into the home stretch, physical pain can be seen by diagonal lines that start at the outer canthus and move towards the nose. Now, if you look, these lines almost have the same trajectory as disempowerment and appeasement lines. Okay. Now, this you'll see blatantly when someone is going through an obvious physical pain. You'll see them squint, you'll see these lines form. If these lines are there and they're not an obvious pain, it means there's a pain they're suppressing. Some kind of physical, mental, or emotional pain that they're suppressing. And I want to be very clear on this. Pain can be physical or emotional. As far as your neurology is concerned, there isn't any difference between a physical pain and an emotional one. So if these people are hurting inside and it's not directly attributable to sadness or fear, but this could be shame, it could be envy, it could be loneliness, it could be lots of different kinds of rejection. That can mark here too, right? So when you see these markings, there's some kind of pain that they're locking down in their body, right? And you need to unpack it for them to heal. Okay? We've talked about the hyperactivity lines. We're going to talk about the last two, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into this marking. But before we do that, I just want to go ahead and remind you that this will be our last call. For those of you who want to take advantage of the full face reading and defense against the dark arts training, it's the face reading for fun and profit above the mask level 1. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to include with that the NLP Power, or the NLP #1 ranked course for the last 4 years, Killer Influence, Defense Against the Dark Arts, the speed profiling training. It's a $1,997 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free as a way to round out and really build your defenses and profile people on a much deeper level. We're going to include the Identity by Design hypnotherapy home study program so you can actually fix the things you find in yourself and in your clients. We're also going to, it's a $1,997 value. We're going to include that absolutely free. We're going to give you the face reading for fun and profit level 2. It's $1,997 value home study course as a fast action bonus. So you have above the mask and below the mask. You'll be able to profile people from the hairline to chin line in 90 seconds or less once you've completed the training. We're going to include the people reading for fun and profit body language training and clothing evaluation home study course that teaches you our approach to doing behavioral analysis in a very quick, street-friendly way. It's a $1,497 value. We're going to give that to you absolutely free. We're also going to include the 3-month trial membership to the NLP Power Mastermind Mentoring Program. That's a $1,997 value. You get 3 months to try it out, both in person and virtually. You get 90 days to binge watch 13 years of our collected video archives. Right. And then finally, if you want to stay, we'll tell you how to do that. If not, you've had a great 90 days meeting really cool people like you who like to do cool stuff, and you get the hands-on feedback and training that you really need to functionalize this to make this stuff yours. Okay. I always tell my students, for everything you get from me, you will always pay twice. What I mean by that is the first payment's the easy one. It's the monetary installment, the tuition. You can always make more money. That gives you access to the information. It's the second payment that is the most important payment. And that's not a payment that's made in money. It's a payment in time, energy, effort to roll up your sleeves, do the drills, and get the skills. That takes you from access to the information to ownership. And once you've become an owner of this information, it becomes a power that will serve you anytime you choose to use it. It can't be taken away, right? So it's really up to you. That second payment is the most important one, okay? So you choose whatever approach works best for you. Finally, for those of you who are super fast action takers who really want the best of all worlds, you want 5 days one-on-one with me, you get that VIP super ticket to our Killer Influence Secrets of Covert Hypnosis 5-day certification bootcamp live here in San Diego. It's a $3,150 value. We're going to give it to you free if you were one of the first 21 people to click that link right now, www.nlppower.com/face. That's www.nlp.com/face. Click that link right now before it's too late, because once I log off, these bonuses go away. www.nlppower.com/face. Click the link, click the link, click the link right now. Okay. This is our last call, so to speak. So coming into the home stretch. All right. So the last couple of characteristics I want to go over with y'all. And this is one you see a lot, pretty much everywhere, but especially if you drive a lot in California. You have 2 lines that manifest right between the eyebrow. We call this an irritation, annoyance, and impatience line. I have all 3. I often make the joke, impatience is my superpower. You may notice that we're known for our easy, fast, rapid, bulletproof change work. One of the reasons is because I don't have time for bullshit. I get annoyed easily, and I don't have time to screw around. I'm very impatient. So a lot of our change work tends to be very quick, very direct, cuts through the bullshit, gets it done. People with this particular marking usually have a little bit of a temper. They're quick to show irritation and annoyance. If they're sitting at a stoplight and the light turns yellow, they're more likely to step on the gas. If the light turns red, half a second before the light turns from red to green, they're already moving, right? So you know who you are, right? If you're someone like me who has an energy field that screws with electronics, These lines will show up a lot. If you spend a lot of time driving in Los Angeles or surrounding areas, you'll probably get really used to these lines. Okay. Now, every now and then, you're going to see someone with a third line. Now, what's interesting about this marking is this is somebody who's actually learned to manage their temper. They've gone through enough experiences, enough trainings that they know how to manage their impatience and annoyance. As you can look at my face, you can see that I'm not there yet, right? I'm still a work in progress, right? We've all got stuff. Every now and then, you're going to see someone who has one big line. This is as big as I can make it, but just like that. It might be small, it might be big, but it's a single line. This line in Chinese face reading is called suspended needle if it's small, and if it's big, it's called a suspended sword. Now, one of the problems with this particular line is there's a bunch of behavioral traits that go along with this, but what it primarily signifies is that at some point in this person's life, they became estranged with their parent, their dominant parent. So whoever was the young person in the family, there's some kind of anger there towards the parent, or from the sibling towards the parent, or from the parent towards the sibling. So this can mark in either direction. And the way this manifests is that in the past, this person got really, really angry. Somebody did something, they got really, really angry, and they pushed back, they fought back. And what happened as a byproduct of that anger, they got severely punished for it. And that punishment was so severe for them that they made maybe it was conscious, but usually it's unconscious. They're not really conscious of doing this. They made an unconscious decision that they were never going to let themselves express that level of anger again. Now, on the surface, that sounds like a good thing. Like so many things mitigated or mediated by the unconscious mind, it isn't. Because you need to understand that this marking is in what we call the liver or wood area. The wood energy of the body is the passion and compassion area of the body. It's the energy that it creates achievement, that creates competitiveness, that moves people forward. So if you have a line here, what that means is at some point you put a block, you put a limiter on how much energy you're allowed to give yourself access to. And so what happens is at some point in your life, that will manifest as an inability to move forward, as an inability to continue achieving. You'll get to a certain level or a certain degree in your business or in your personal life, and you'll just stop. And one of several things tends to happen. Okay. One of several things tends to happen. A, they'll self-sabotage themselves and blow it up. They'll lose interest and start something new. Or they'll self-sabotage themselves. This particular trait seems to have a little bit of a self-sabotage program running in it as well. But these people they may be masters of like 27 trades, but they don't go beyond a certain point in any of them. I've known people like this. I've seen it. There is a tendency for a little bit more need for approval, because at some level, they're still fighting that original battle with this person trying to prove they're right. So that will often manifest as a constant need to prove themselves, a constant need to show, hey, look what I did. Look how good I did this. And you'll see it a lot. Okay. So suspended needle or suspended sword means they put a limiter on the amount of power that they have. People with this marking have a tremendous amount of energy and capabilities that they're not letting themselves access. So if you see someone with this marking, or you have this marking, you need to clear it because it's holding you back. At some point, it will manifest as an inability to move forward. Okay. Jess says that sounds like me now. My wife has this marking and I love her. And she's one of the most accomplished people I know, but I know how much more she's capable of. I had AV guys. I had one guy in my camp. This marking was so big, we named him the suspended bazooka, right? And he was textbook the things I'm describing. He was a good person, right? But this limiter, and some people, even when I give them that particular, even when I give them that diagnosis of that marking and they agree with it and they acknowledge it, they still don't fix it. And that's kind of the ironic, kind of tragic part about the business we're in as healers, is that most people don't change until they've suffered enough. They just don't. And so you have to let them suffer. That's actually the compassionate thing to do, is let them suffer until they come to the realization on their own that it's time to get rid of this shit. And then you can help them. Until then, they're actually going to fight you on the change work. So again, just because you see it doesn't mean you say it, right? Remember, you're now fledgling apprentice face readers. You now have enough to be officially dangerous. So please use these skills that you're learning with respect that you're actually tapping into people's vulnerabilities. Remember that no single trait is a profile. It's how all the traits combine and stack together that makes the profile happen. That gives you the ability to predict and engineer your influence techniques to have the greatest amount of impact with the least amount of effort, right? This is a fun, fascinating art and science to play with, and it will enhance everything that you do, but you still have to roll your sleeves up and go out and read faces. And you don't have to believe anything I've told you tonight. You don't have to. Just go out and read people's faces and tell them about themselves and notice what happens. But remember, don't be an ass. Don't be provocative. Be very gentle, soften your questions, let them elucidate or elaborate on the marking that you find. So Christopher's asking, can you read yourself and the changes work? Yes. If you're willing to do the self-work, you can change your shit. That's actually a big part of the mystical trainings and what identity by design and regression therapy and vibrational healing, that's what they're all taking you towards. The ability to manifest and unleash your inner magic. And the first step of that is always clearing your shit. It's always purification before ascension, which is the empowerment side. Okay. So my job is to integrate these things into a process that's faster, easier, more effective, that solves your problems and gives you the foundations to keep going. That's part of my golden path. And that's why the universe, I believe, put so many of these things in my path. That's why you're here. You had problems that you wanted fixes for, things you wanted to solve. This is one of the ways that you can do that. But remember, for every problem that you solve, there's going to be a new level that you tap into. For every technique that you learn that solves a problem that you have, there's a deeper level to that technique that takes you even further. There's layer upon layer upon layer to everything. But you have to decide how far down that rabbit hole you want to go, how much you deserve, and what you're willing to do to get there. Okay. So the last line that we're going to talk about, ironically, is known as a transformation line. This line can be seen as a diagonal line that moves up from the eyebrow line or up from the third eye. Now, this line, you see this a lot in very, very advanced meditators, people who are on an extremely spiritual path. And what these lines often signify is a person with this line. Let me make this a little bit smaller. A person with this line has gone through some shit with a capital S. They went through a long, dark night of the soul, or maybe a long, dark year of the soul, or maybe several years. And as a byproduct of those experiences, they came out of it with a spiritual revelation, an understanding about who they are, the world they live in, that has forever changed their understanding of themselves in that world, in the spirit world. And these lines mark as diagonal, these tend to mark as diagonal lines coming up. For really advanced meditators, you'll often see what my teacher used to call Buddha wings. Buddha wings are these little wing-like lines that seem to emanate or come up from the third eye. And so Lillian would talk about when she would talk to Buddhist monks or the Dalai Lama, she would actually see these markings appear on his forehead over his third eye when he was teaching. And as soon as he stopped teaching and he stopped channeling that information, they would start to fade as he went and just became the public figure of the Dalai Lama. So I've seen people with these markings, and again, they're usually seen in very high level, very advanced spiritual practitioners and meditative practitioners. Okay. Now, just because you don't have these markings doesn't mean you're not advanced, right? Not everyone marks everything, right? So if you want to ascend, for lack of a better word, if you want to level up, get on your golden path, and really embody your spirit more, I encourage you to go ahead and click the link and get one of those last remaining packages. It's www.nlppower.com/face. Click the link right now before it's too late, so I can show you how to get from where you are to where you want to be and keep going. Okay, that's my job. So Jesse says, I have 3 when I squint, but I don't meditate. Well, if you have to squint to get the marking, probably not what we're going for, right? Remember, if you have to distort your face to get a marking to show up, it's not as strong as you might want to think. When we talk about these facial markings, we're talking about when the person's not actively scrunching their face, or when they just have normal resting face, what markings show up, right? You can see my falling lines. You can see my disappointment lines because I have children, right? And I'm constantly frustrated with my tech, especially today, right? So that's kind of what we got for you. So before I turn you guys loose, do you have any final questions that I can answer? Was today's training useful? Did you find it helpful? Alexia says this has been awesome. Jeannie says, just says that was great. Or no, it's Jonas. Cool. Excellent. Dog says, thank you so much. You're very welcome. Jess says, yes, it was amazing. All right. I have time for 2 more questions. If you got one, ask it. Kavita says, as always, you provide a lot of value. Thank you. I do. I try my best. I really do. All right, guys. If there's no more questions, in the words of the immortal Cal Burnett, I'm so glad we had this time together just to have a laugh or sing a song. Oh, how do you get rid of those lines? Point to where you feel it. Ask, there's a reason this line is here, and there's a feeling connected to that reason. Where does that reason live in my body? First impression, point to where you feel it. Okay. Now, the next phase is going to depend on what techniques you have. If you have the transformational triad, use that. If you have the identity by design training, use that. If you have EFT or EMDR, use that. Okay, but what you want to do is you want to find the body feeling that this marking is connected to. And then you want to ask yourself, how young was I when I first felt this feeling, and who was it with? Pay attention to the first thing that pops up. Follow the 6 dynamics of an unconscious response. If you don't know what those are, we cover it in several other videos. Okay, unconscious mind always answers first, always answers honestly, always feels like you're making it up, always have an urge to edit what just came up. It's never loud, it's never linear. And you need to unpack that body feeling and the stories connected to it. As you start to release the energy and release the stories connected to that marking and that body feeling, these markings will start to shift. Okay, you may have to go through 3 or 4 iterations. Can you spin it? Yes. Again, spinning is part of the transformational triad, right? But you've got to get to the root. So you've got to ask slightly different questions, right? The other way you can do it is you can just continually ask questions about it and reframe and keep reframing it until you have the epiphany and the energy is emotionally released. Best thing you can do is get with somebody certified in face reading and have them work with you, right? Most of my therapy students are also face readers because it's part of their training. So by all means, reach out to somebody in Planet David who you know is trained by me and certified by me. Chances are they have some face reading going with them and they can help you unpack this stuff. Okay. Well, now it's time to say goodbye to all our company. MIC, see you real soon. KUI, why? Because we like you. Find your destiny, click that link, and I'll see you on the other side. Good night, my friends. God bless. Take care.